Hello and welcome to Someday is Today. Welcome, Mac.
Thank you. Happy to be here. Great week this week. Quarantine week. Coronavirus week.
Yes, it's been an interesting week. First though, let me just say, for those who are following us on YouTube, we are now bringing you some visuals with Somedays Today.
For those who are following us on any podcast platform.
Yes, that's true. If you're following us on any podcast platform, Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud, we have a YouTube channel because we thought it would be, as with anything, visuals are always great in general. So number one, you get to see what we look like. And number two, I think it's just easier to engage with people when you see the dynamics between the two of them. So hopefully,
hopefully we'll see.
Yeah, so we'll see how this works out. What's interesting though is in the typical fashion or spirit of Somedays Today, we've clobbered together. It's taken us a while to pretty much figure out how to record for podcast, for the typical podcast recording, as well as the video that we're going to be streaming.
What kind of plant is this?
This is called the money tree.
Oh, I guess it's appropriate.
Yeah,
so
that's
instead
a good
of
point.
Between two ferns, so we like
between the money tree.
Well, the money tree between us.
Okay.
Two.
Can I just finish quickly?
Oh, my bad.
So yes, we are recording onto YouTube with my son's Apple phone. So hopefully it actually captures the visuals well. And then for the audio, we're using our typical recording device. Actually, not our typical, because typically we would be in a studio. But since we're all stuck at home, we're recording on your voice recorder, and we've got a mic plugged into Zoom. Zoom is pretty much the company of the year at this point, isn't it?
How do they make their money anyways? Do they like?
They have a free. There's a baseline service, but then if you want to have longer meetings and all of that, then you upgrade to a paid service. So we actually have a paid service, Mac.
We do.
Yeah, we do.
Why would we do that?
Because I think the free service is if you want to have meetings for less than 40 minutes, so they made it perfectly inconvenient. So if you're going to have meetings for longer than an hour, you need to upgrade to a paid version. And I also think that there's a limited number of people that can join for the free version. But at this point, Zoom is really just making out like gangbusters, and
Do we own stocks?
No, I feel like we missed the opportunity to own. Their stocks, I want to say, has increased by at least 100% since the start of this. And
we weren't ready.
No, we weren't. No, I thought about it, but I don't think we moved money fast enough. Either way, the point is, we missed the boat. Probably not. We probably could still invest a little. But yeah, no, we missed the initial wave. They are doing it. We do have some Netflix stocks. I think Netflix had some gains. I don't think it's as much as Zoom. But
yeah.
Anyways.
Because Disney came over. Anyways, this is not a financial
No, it's not.
podcast,
Matt, can you come closer? I just want to make sure that we're catching your recording. So anyways, welcome to Somedays Today, where we encourage you to live your best life. So let's just jump in there. Okay, first of all, let's do a cheers to our official first YouTube sort of recording.
All right.
And what are we sipping on?
What's the drink in your cup?
What's the drink in our cup?
Right.
You probably don't even know the name of.
Well, I certainly don't know what tea you gave me, but I know it's got Tito's vodka.
Yes.
Oh shoot, we shouldn't have probably did a free ad for Tito.
Nobody will. Who cares? So this
Tito,
is a mix.
I want my money.
So this is a mix of a German tea house. So for those who listen to Latanya Coakley, for the episode that we did last time, she is the owner and curator of a tea house, and she has a bunch of amazing teas. You can go to her website, www.adjonteahouse.com, to get some of her teas. So this one that I've specially brewed for today's session is, I think it's called Sunday Surprise. I'm gonna find the exact name, but it's something about Sunday. And then we mixed it with some vodka for a little nighttime entertainment. So yeah, we're recording pretty late. We wanted to get the recording in much earlier, but then random things happened. But we figured someday is still today. We gonna get it in, and here we are.
We're letting the universe
Yes.
dictate. We're not pushing anything. So
Yeah.
But let's jump into it, because it's not that bad, I guess. 6 minutes in, and
You're always so worried about the time. You know you can edit.
Well, part of the reason I'm worried about the time is because, yes, while you can edit, I think editing is it's terrible in the sense that you don't know exactly what you're going to be missing, and then also I know that there are some people who are like, I'm not going to listen to this for that damn long.
Yeah.
So
okay.
Plus, more than anything else, I think people are trying to figure out what the hell you're going to be talking about. So we need to give them what we're talking about.
Yes. So I think what we're going to talk about today is a combination of things, and we may veer off in different directions, because I think we tend to do that, and hopefully our audience can kind of come along with us on that journey. But I think it's a combination of how are we managing through this time. We're all stuck at home. We've been stuck at home for the past 2 weeks. So I would actually like for us to do a brief update about, let's just check in with each other about how we're feeling versus how the rest of the world is feeling in terms of handling this. So I want to talk about that, but I also want to talk about how are we as individuals, as well as the rest of the world, what should we be doing during this time to prep us for when we come out. I know you and I have been reading quite a bit. There's a lot. We've been reading a number of books, and I would like for us to talk about the latest book that we've read, The Untethered Soul. So that's something that we can dive into. And lastly, I want to tie it into what I believe the topic of today's episode would be, which is magic. Do you believe in magic? So I will explain all of that as we get into it. But first, why don't we check in and see how we're doing with the quarantine? So I'm going to ask you, how are you feeling thus far? It's been 2 weeks. So at this point, it's been 2 weeks. And we've now just heard that we are going to be on lockdown for another month. So right now it's March 28th or 29th. I don't know what the date is. And we went and picked up computers for all the 3 children from their schools so that they can have access to their schoolwork should the school system provide any work for them to do. And they've also told us that at the very least, we're going to be home for another month until April 27th. So with that in mind, 2 weeks in and then another month to go, how are you feeling?
I am feeling great.
Great.
So, yeah, so there's a couple of things. First and foremost, I'm probably going to echo a lot of what you said. So first and foremost, or going to say that, so maybe it's not echo. Going to
We're going to do a prelude.
Yes. So the first piece is that I work from home for the most part. I only actually go into...
Well, you go into the office, the MBA Growth Partners office.
Yeah, but that is...
You own that space. That's your shit.
That's if we so choose, and or if we have meetings. So it's like, it's very dependent on whatever the heck I want. But I'm also working. Thankfully...
You're gainfully employed by
someone else,
another firm.
I'm also helping to build somebody else's wealth.
But the good thing is you're also building
our own wealth.
Our wealth in the meantime, in the
right.
process.
So this is helping to fund our empire.
Yes.
So
I love that word, empire. Yes. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. All right, so not only that, so I work from home for the most part. I go in to see the client for whom I work at for like 1 hour
A week.
per week, and thankfully, this particular project that I'm on is very lax, which allows me the time to focus on the other business. And I think there's a lot more that we can do, and I hope that we can do it pretty soon. But anyways, I work from home for the most part, so this hasn't necessarily changed. I don't have a lot of interactions with people in the outside world. I am also an introvert, which means that I typically do not go out and deal
Would
with
you
folks.
consider yourself a full introvert, or like I would consider myself an extroverted introvert? And I actually think that's what came back for me. Would you consider yourself an introvert or an extroverted introvert?
Don't know what the difference is.
Gotcha.
So, but what
But
I would
overall,
say,
an introvert.
I would say definitely overall an introvert. I would say I am a socially capable, if
Mhm.
that's the way you use it, introvert. I when I put myself into the position, because I know I have to go out, I can do it.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, you would find me very, like, you're gonna have to drag me out for the most part, because I'm like, oh my God, I don't feel like being bothered by human beings. I mean, but anyways, if you've seen some of the other episodes, heard some of the other episodes, you know this. But the point here is that for the most part, I am so good. I'm spending time, like, my favorite people are my family members. Like, my favorite time is traveling with my family. Like when we went to Cuba and Costa Rica, those are awesome. So, like, we have the kids at home right now, and I'm chilling, I'm good. And what's more is, like, and we're gonna get to this, is that, I am in a position where I'm allowing myself to enjoy where I'm at in a particular place where I am. So, it's good.
Life is good.
And another thing that I want to add to that is life is good. Life is good.
Good.
I have to remind myself of that. And so I'm still on my journey. Last week, actually, if we ever
Release that episode.
podcast,
Yeah.
it was not such a good week for me. And I actually think, although it was, if I think about it, it's kind of cringeworthy, that episode that we filmed, I also think it might be good for people to hear, because I think people need to be able to relate to struggles.
Yeah, ups and downs.
Yeah, so that they can understand that it's normal. But the last thing I want to say is, I think there is something that is also very comforting and uniting in the fact that this is happening globally.
To the whole world, yeah.
Yeah, like, this is where I'm not quarantined by myself. Like, I understand that everybody else is doing it, and, like, whether it's virtually or on Instagram. Like, I imagine, I don't know, like, because I know that this happened in the 1920s or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there was another pandemic that people were talking about, but I know
I think it's the Spanish flu.
The Spanish flu? All right, so the difference between that is we didn't have the ability to connect worldwide.
I thought about that the other day. Yeah.
And so, like,
You're completely cut off.
Yeah. So the idea of knowing everybody else, like when you have
social media,
conversations, social media and everything, and knowing everybody's going through the same
videos, being able to do a video chat, checking in with your parents in various remote places. I don't even know if phones,
about the way to, make light of it, singing together.
And I don't even know if phones were prevalent at that time, to even be honest, right? So you may not even know how your loved ones are doing back then. So that's such a great point.
Yeah.
So as difficult as it's been for a lot of people, it's almost as if this is nothing compared to what it could be and what it has been. So we should be grateful for that. Okay, so overall, life is good, you're good. And then before I do my response for how things are coming along with me, can you do this comfortably for another 4 weeks? At least.
Another 4 weeks, I think. Like I said, I mean, it hasn't changed necessarily for me. I know like I commiserate. Commiserate, is that the right term? I empathize.
I think it's the same. Commiserate, empathize. No.
I feel like commiserate is like when you're sharing
actually
in it, like you're in it. When it's kind of like, all right, I feel for you type of thing. Maybe I'm wrong. I have to go back and look at the dictionary meaning of the word. But whatever.
And you would know, because just a side chat. Didn't you study the whole dictionary at one point?
No.
Oh, it wasn't?
It was no goddamn. But Lord have mercy.
I swore that you
but
studied
you know
the
what?
whole dictionary.
But that would not necessarily be a bad thing if I did. Malcolm X actually studied the whole dictionary while he was in prison.
That's impressive.
What
did you do? I remember. I mean, that's not even a joke, babe. You studied.
If I did study the whole dictionary, where there's some freaking stupid ass words that need not be uttered, like I would have to kick myself. No, but there was.
What did you do?
I think my dad actually bought this for me when I was in college, and you saw it. It was like an audio tape of. You remember the audio tapes?
Yeah, it wasn't the whole dictionary.
No, it was a whole bunch of words. Where it was supposed to be the words you should know, and I was listening to it, and
but it was like thousands and thousands of words.
I don't know about thousands and thousands. It was a lot of words.
It was a lot of
words.
But
then they gave you all the
meanings.
The meaning, the origins, and all that good stuff. But yes, I did do that.
Yeah, so you studied pretty much the dictionary, which I just thought, how impressive. Honestly, I did. Mainly because, number one, you could not catch me studying anything I don't need to study. Talk less, just words, just random words. My memory don't even work that way. I would not remember it, so what's the point? But I just thought it was so impressive. But yeah, so
that's
the difference between one of the many ways.
That and my dancing.
One of them, it certainly wasn't your jokes.
You keep on saying
which
that,
you
but let's
are
just,
convinced.
all we gotta do is
you're convinced that I used to laugh at your jokes.
All we gotta do is talk to Chica.
Anyways, moving on. We're just gonna move on. So you could do this for another 4 weeks?
I mean, certainly.
Okay. Okay.
I'm just real quickly. Yeah, why not?
You could do this comfortably for another 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Okay.
The only issue is that I feel like there's a lot of wasted time.
Wasted time.
Interesting. Wasted in the fact that things are not moving business is not going as usual. Like, you can't really go out and meet new people, which is what, not only in business, but also in self-growth. Like, I can't grow as much as I need to without human interaction.
Possibly. Mm-hmm. But, so let me give you my take on it. Mm-hmm. I would consider myself an extroverted introvert. Heavy lean on the introvert. I say this jokingly, but I think I'm almost completely, I'm more serious when I say I don't enjoy people. No. I enjoy people that I like. I don't enjoy meeting people that I don't like. Do you understand what I'm saying? So it's very difficult.
That's pretty true. Like meeting people, like talking to people.
I don't want to engage with people that I don't know. Mm-hmm. Because I'm very dubious of whether or not we would have a connection. And I don't want to waste my time, quote unquote, on trying to figure out if we're going to have a connection and then being in an awkward space. So for the most part, it's just a drain on me. However, when I like people, I'm all over it. So I enjoy people that I enjoy. I do draw some energy from people that I enjoy. But the people that I enjoy are few and far in between. So it makes it very difficult. But outside of that, outside of the people part, I don't know that I'm the type of person that enjoys, finding out about new experiences. Let's go check this out. Like, I certainly don't draw my energy from just going out, trying new things. I love being at home and binging on Netflix. So extroverted-ish introvert. But people are surprised when I call myself an introvert because I think I present to some people extrovertish, right? But no, that's the opposite. It actually drains me to be around people. So I think that's why you and I get along very well, because we could just be home
Right.
together. So
I think,
yeah.
I agree.
Okay.
I don't know how much we want to.
So
I'll let you direct. What happens next?
So let me finish. So that being the case, I didn't realize we were struggling with this whole quarantine thing. In my mind, I was like, this is perfect.
But you also know we have each other.
So yeah, I'm gonna get to that. Before we even get to we have each other thing, when I think about the most beautiful scenario that God can somehow randomly drop on my lap. I was telling somebody the other day that I swear to God, this is one of my children making all sorts of noise in the background. If you don't get out of here, Emily, just
also,
go.
just whining.
Just go.
Winding.
Go. You're blocking our things. Nobody cares.
Please, God. I mean, this is straight ghetto at this point. You see, look at her talking. Shut.
Were you about to tell her? Shut the hell up. Okay, what do you want, Amy?
She's still screwing this up. Please,
swear to God. We're trying to be We're trying to be professional.
She's not here.
Anyways, let me tell you, when I think about the perfect gift, I mean, there were moments when I dreamed of days like this. I'm sure there's a rap line that somebody said, like, I dreamed of days like this when everything has shut down. I don't have to be nowhere. I can just be home, chilling, and ain't got to report to nobody for the foreseeable future. I swear to God.
Life?
Huh?
I swear to God, this has been your life for almost a year.
Well, you know, I'm trying to create the life of my dreams. So, no, so let me tell you why this is even greater. I'm trying to create the life of my dreams. So yes, you're right. This is definitely much closer to my life, which is why I didn't realize that it was such an issue, because you're right. It's not too far from what I've been doing. Yes, we do have an office and we go every day and we meet with clients, but those meetings are meetings I want to have. They don't drain me. So life for the most part has been great because I'm curating my experiences deliberately. And I'm choosing to go into spaces that feed me deliberately. But I realized that in starting your own business, I mean, we have a couple of ventures. We have this podcast, Some Days Today, and we also have the consulting practice. And obviously I'm a parent and there's a whole bunch of other stuff going on. So what you realize is very limited is time. There's not enough time to do the things that I want. So when you don't have enough time, you offset that by paying people to do stuff, right? With money. So when you don't have time and you don't have money, life can be very difficult. Meaning that the things that I envision that I would love to do, I just don't have the time to do. Lo and behold, we're all quarantined. And you know who got the skills and the time?
Your kids?
My children. I swear to God. I can cry right now just how much we've gotten accomplished the past 2 weeks. It is beautiful. I feel like, you know, when I put together my vision board and I had a bunch of random lists on it and a lot had to get accomplished, I knew I don't have the resources. I don't got the money to do all these things, but somehow the good Lord saw it fit to pretty much stop everything else in the world just for me to be able to get my shit done. I was telling somebody that I feel like this whole situation was especially picked, wrapped with me in mind and gifted to me as a gift. And that's how it's felt. Like it just feels as if everything else has stopped. The shit that I need to do, my children helping out with the various things that we're helping with. I mean, it's just all coming together beautifully. So that being said, I've been in my own world realizing, oh my God, I can get so much accomplished. And we've been getting a lot accomplished. I mean, I'm just knocking it out. But then it occurred to me that what about people who are not married, people who don't have children, people who are extroverts,
people who work hourly,
people who work
in
hourly.
restaurants.
I mean, so many people are being impacted. And then another thing that I have deliberately done with my life is I don't watch the news. So for the most part, the things that are important and should bubble up to my attention, somehow I'm going to get through the universe somehow, but I'm not seeking out the news because it's just a distraction to me. And I think it's a drain of my energy. So I don't want to give my energy in that way. So there's some things that you miss out when you choose to live your life in that way. But you're absolutely right. There are people who have been impacted by this. I mean, we can't take this lightly at all. Clearly, it's serious enough that the whole world has come to a screeching halt. So I don't want to come across as if I'm being selfish or insensitive. So no, I do take it seriously, completely. But I was just saying that in my mind, it didn't even occur to me, number one, how difficult that it's been for some people, and even those who are not impacted by the shutdown economically, financially, and what have you. There are people who just naturally their spirit gravitates towards other people. They need to be out. You know, some people are by themselves, they're alone. So that realization actually caused me to start to reach out to some people just to check in on them. Because naturally, I'm like, I'm in my happy space. I'm home. I'm with the people that I care about the most. I'm in contact with my extended family and friends. I check in with them every now and then. Everything is good. We good, right? But no, I think there's a lot going on in the world. And like, as you said, we do have to be grateful that as bad as it's been and as it could be, thankfully, we do have the technology to be able to connect with the folks that we care about, to be able to check in on them. So that's great. Can I do this for another month? I believe so. I mean, honestly, so let me take it back a bit. I think so, because that's why I said I'll be interested in speaking to, your thoughts about how productive we can be. I've never been more productive. The amount of work that I can get done, because everything has come down, and now I'm leveraging other people's efforts for free, my children. So, I mean, there's so many things that I had on my checklist of things that I needed to do. And the fact that they're not in school or, doing all their other activities, just allows me to be able to get some of those things checked out. So I actually disagree with you that we're not as productive as we could be, because I think for our business personally, I feel like we're going to see a boost in terms of how we're repackaging ourselves, getting out there. And also it's an opportunity, because we are business consultants, to be able to consult with other businesses who may be impacted in a way that we can truly add value, and let them know that we're here for them, and whatever is needed, we're here to help them talk it through. So I can easily do this for another month. Who knows? I may be saying something completely different next week, but right now I am in a good space. Physically, well, I don't know about physically. I probably could be more, I haven't worked out in a good while, but definitely mentally, spiritually, socially, business-wise, I feel like I could do this for another good 2 weeks or so, so we'll see how things pan out. But yeah, so that's that. So overall, things are good, thankfully, for us. Mm-hmm. Now, I said that we wanted to talk about what we've been up to. So it's funny. So Big Sean, Big Sean, the rapper. He
I do know Big Sean.
Do you know him?
I know of him.
You know of him?
I haven't met him yet.
You know his persona. We may not even know who he is in real life, but we do know what he projects out there. Yeah. Okay. So he put on Facebook his top 7 books for folks to, and I think he may have listed more. Some of them we've read, like God, why is it skipping me?
The books you're talking about?
The books. Some of them we've read.
What, now or before?
Before
he said it, or okay.
Yeah, no. He had a bunch of books on his top, on his
Yeah, before he said it or after he said it? I'm just trying to
figure
before
out. He said it. He had a bunch of books. I'm gonna look. You didn't know any of the books?
Said that
No. There was one that we read with okay, let me look him up and we can Big Sean. Okay. I don't even know. Wow, he's posted a whole bunch. Oh, maybe he deleted it, because I don't see that posting here.
Was it
Anyways, so The Alchemist was on there.
The Alchemist, yes.
The Alchemist we read.
That's the one with Is that the one where it's an actual story and he starts out in Egypt? Okay,
Yes.
yeah. Okay.
We read The Alchemist. We read he had The Awakened, what's his name? The one you just read. The Awakened Life. The one I reference all the time, Oprah's and all this other stuff.
He didn't have.
He had that on
A New Earth?
A New Earth.
No, he did not.
He didn't have that? I
No,
thought he did.
no.
Okay. Anyways, some of the books, I think 2 or 3 on the list, we had read, or I had read, and then there were others. And the others, so I saw it this last week, and I told myself that I got time. So I wanted to read at least 3 books. And I wanted some of them to be the ones that he recommended. So someone had told me about The Untethered Soul before. So I went ahead and picked that up and started reading it. The 7 Spiritual...
Did he have that?
Yeah, he did. That's
You
actually what
sure
reminded
about
me.
that?
Yes, we're going to pull up the stuff.
Yeah, we need to go back.
So maybe we'll actually add his list of recommended books on the link. The 7 Spiritual Habits of Success. Did you read that? We did it quick. That was pretty short, and we did that. And then the 4 Agreements, which Tammy and I had decided we were going to read earlier this year, and I have the physical book, and I just never got to it. So since he said it, I took the opportunity to quickly do an audio book. So those 3 we got through this week, or at least I got through this week. And
I didn't do the 4 Agreements.
You didn't do the 4 Agreements, yes.
And I'm 2 chapters away from finishing
The Untethered Soul.
Mm-hmm.
So let me just say, the 3 books they're all along the same lines of what we've been experiencing, or what we've been feeding ourselves the past 3 months or so. At least you, at least 3 months, and me maybe a little longer in terms of what I've been tapping into. And the one book that I felt was life-changing prior to The Untethered Soul for me was Instinct by Bishop T.D. Jakes. And I talk about this in every episode. But The Untethered Soul was amazing. So I think part of what I want us to talk about here is how this book has impacted us and the practical applications of the book. So I said that I wanted to call this episode
Magic.
Do You Believe in Magic?
And I hope you do.
Yes. So we'll call that I hope you do. You know, you're funny, man, because you may have gotten me with your humor. You're right.
All I gotta do is ask the
I just
person
got
who
that
was
reference. Huh?
there. I just gotta ask the witness to take the stand, and it's all good.
Anyways.
Like, I know you are the one who was, all
Babe,
pregnant
I am
and
the
all that good
comedian.
stuff. It's all good, but I have when I'm comfortable, I get it done.
So you got your 1-2 jokes every now and then.
I'm like Jay-Z said, I'm funny. I've just not allowed the walls that I've created, my mental walls, to allow me to walk past them yet. That's all. We'll get there though.
Okay, did Jay-Z really say that?
He did.
To
He
who?
said multiple people. He said it on interviews with Angie Martinez. He says something that people don't know is that I'm funny. And I was thinking to myself, really? Anyways.
I can't take that serious. Is the man for real?
I think he might be funny and when he's comfortable and that's another introvert, him and his wife.
Yes,
are
and
introverts.
maybe that's how he got Beyonce. Maybe that is, you know what? That I could see how that's a possibility because number one, I think a huge part of comedy is timing and wit, right? And I think when you're a poet, which you can argue rappers are, you tend to be able to tap into your witty side much faster. Like you could see the play on words and how it plays out in reality and be able to bend, images with words.
No,
so I could see possibly, no?
Because you would not necessarily call yourself a poet, but I think you're definitely funny. And I think the difference between a person who is funny, quote unquote, who people find to be funny. I think you can be funny. Who people find to be funny and those that people don't necessarily find to be funny is that those who people find to be funny are constantly in that mindset. Like they're constantly thinking about, oh, I could
opportunities.
I could just hit you with this and that. And it's for either because they're comfortable, which I think is what he was talking about. When he's comfortable and he's in that space, he can probably come up with them, bang, bang, boom. But if they're not necessarily comfortable because they're comfortable, it's how they respond to pressures. Like a lot of comedians will tell you, like, you know, they're super insecure or whatever the case may be, but this is their coping mechanism. And so this is how they respond. And so they get into that space. And so it's really about being in that space. Like a lot of times for me, if I'm not comfortable, I'm definitely not getting to that space because I know for a fact, I don't want you to make fun of me. So,
or you don't want your jokes to fall flat.
That too. Yeah. I'm not trying to get in that space. But yeah, I mean, I think that's the difference. Like, most people can get into that space.
Let me assure you, Mac, I've never considered you funny. I mean,
except for when we first met and you were, I'm telling you, I will have Chike take the witness stand. The one thing that I remember him saying to me, he's like, she thinks you're funny. It's like, you're not funny. I'm like,
maybe
so
I was
cracking the hell up. I was like, what the?
Maybe I was just
like hitting it off. I was
maybe I was just charmed by your good looks. You know what I mean? And not.
So that made you laugh? You laughed at my good looks?
No, maybe I just had a permanent smile on my face.
No,
but
you were cracking I'm telling you,
I was
you were
cracking up.
It was crazy. We were in the library and you were cracking up.
That is funny. I can't take that seriously. But okay.
You, like I remember that was the thing that I remember. He's like, she gonna say I'm funny.
I got this in the bag. She thinks I'm funny. Okay. Anyways, God, what was I gonna say? Okay. I do agree with you though, because I think I'm funny. Do you think I'm funny?
I think you're funny.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, is that all? You're witty. That's one of the things that I like about you. You're quick.
Quick with it.
Yeah.
You quick with it. Witty with it. You think that's where that came from?
No.
You know what it is? Maybe, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I think and probably it's I probably should be more serious, but I'm always looking for the comedic factor in everything, which probably keeps me lighthearted, you know, because everything could be a joke. Even to the point I was telling to somebody about how, and then the man died of coronavirus, which is not funny. But I couldn't even. It's not.
It's not funny. That's a quick way to have all of social media take us down even before we get started.
Yeah, we gonna cut this out. I can't. I think it's nervous laughter, though. It's nervous laughter because I'm like, I can't. I was saying that to say that people dying for real in these streets. Let me stay my ass at home. Like I can't play these games. I'm trying to live. So, anyways, moving forward. I don't even know how we got here, but yes. So, Untethered Soul. One of the books that we've been going through, and of the 3 that I read, the 7 Spiritual Habits of Success, the Untethered Soul, and the 4 Agreements. To me, the Untethered Soul sort of just stood out, but I felt as if they all sort of rounded each other out in a way that all the other books that we've been reading have sort of kind of gotten us on this path to self-awareness. What else would you call this path that we're on?
The path to enlightenment.
Path to enlightenment. Which, hold up, I don't feel comfortable using because it sounds pretentious. Let me tell you. It is unfortunate.
And I am a skeptic. Which is actually where I wanted to go to. and I was gonna say I used to be a skeptic, but I want to say that I am a skeptic.
You're all over it.
I am a skeptic because even now, like part of what is happening with me is that, and part of what's happening last week is, you know, the questioning of everything. Like I'm still questioning, and so I can tell you without a doubt that you cannot understand it until you understand it, and so therefore.
Let me tell you what this reminds me of.
And so let me just finish this
Okay.
point though. You cannot understand until you understand it, and so therefore I completely get the idea that if I say to you that is the road to enlightenment, and you're thinking, look at this mother, like this mumble jumbo.
Like we saw you yesterday. We saw what you were up to yesterday. You talking about enlightenment today.
And
you know what I mean? Like people will want to call you out on your past behaviors,
not even that,
or even your current behaviors.
That's one thing. That's one thing. That's true. And one of the things is I'm not claiming to be moralistic and religious.
Now you want to be a guru.
I don't think that's the same thing as enlightenment. Like I'm not here to tell you. In fact, I mean there are many people who would do certain things that by some religious standards would be considered amoral, or whatever the case may be. And so I wouldn't necessarily tell you that I'm moral, and or even if, you know, enlightenment, once you get there, I wouldn't do some of the things that I did. I'm not claiming that I'm there. I'm not Buddha.
So maybe we should probably provide a definition of what
I don't know
your
what the
definition of enlightenment is.
But what I want to say is, I don't know what the definition is.
Or your preferred definition.
But before we even get there, because now I'm not pretending or professing to be an expert at this right now. I'm on a journey. And so if I were to come and tell you, here's the definition, I don't know necessarily what it is. I mean, I can explore what I think it might be later on. But before I get to that, like what I want to say is that to finish out the point, that I can understand that, you know, it might sound pretentious because some people will be like, oh, the fuck, enlightenment, path to enlightenment. What the hell is that bullshit? But
you know you can curse, right?
I suppose.
Let me tell you why you can curse. Because our exit line, our tagline.
It is a curse word. I actually kind of feel...
Crass cursing.
I feel like so I operate in different realms, different, you know, I code switch, basically, which means, you know, like if I'm got a whole bunch of white friends right now, I probably would sound a little different.
Why we gotta call our white people out?
It's just the way that it is. I code switch. So if I was talking to a whole bunch of dudes right now, I would sound a little different.
How would you sound talking to a bunch of dudes?
It depends on.
And you know, I've seen you with a bunch of dudes, and I'd be like, "Who is this man?"
Like seriously, like who is this man?
No, who is this man? I would be like, I just feel like, yes, it's definitely different. It's different.
Yeah,
it's different.
Which reminds me, I actually am trying to do like a piece of this podcast, and I would quickly say that is about like male relationships.
So I do feel like it's interesting that I think
I swear to God, you don't allow me to actually finish. Like
you're
going to keep on switching this thing until we actually switching the topic until I actually.
I've been drinking.
Okay, so let's actually finish a point.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't want you to ask me another question where I gotta try to answer that.
Go ahead.
All right. So what was I saying? I think so code switch, but that's not.
I was saying
where
you could
we
curse.
started.
Yeah, you said.
Oh, okay. So yeah. So I just want to say like at this point, like even with dudes though, like I would probably have this type of conversation or sound like this if we're having an intellectual conversation. Mm-hmm. So like I kind of feel like when I'm having intellectual conversations, it feels crass to curse.
Gotcha.
Whereas if I was like having a regular conversation, I'd be cursing. Whatever. In any case, I'm me. At whatever points I'm me, and whatever points I'm going to be me, mm-hmm. I'm going to be a different me. But
so path
it's
to
all
enlightenment.
me at the time is going to be me.
Mm-hmm.
Path to enlightenment. Yeah. I mean, that wasn't. So what I'm saying here with respect to enlightenment is that with respect to enlightenment, what I'm saying is that I can get how it would seem like it's pretentious and like, oh my God, enlightened. And so be it, bro. If you are not, if this is going to throw you off, then you're not there yet. And I think, unfortunately, that's unfortunate. And if you're questioning and you're like skeptical, I'm here for you. I'm good. Like I think that's a good position to be in. Like keep on searching. But you know what I'm saying? Like it's gonna take people different points to get to wherever they're going to get. But you know, as a former skeptic, I get it.
So let me tell you what the term enlightenment reminds me of. So we met in college, and remember there was a point when everybody became conscious.
Yeah. With my dreads.
Yeah, you had lots.
In fact, I probably brought you into consciousness, quote unquote consciousness.
Perhaps.
Yeah, because I remember beforehand I was trying to explain to you how I don't know about Jesus, bro. I think like you were straight laced, going to church. You didn't know
I was never.
Consciousness before that. What you talking about?
No, I mean that's a separate conversation. I've never been. But I mean,
you've never been straight laced.
No, I think in my I'm definitely a buttoned up. I present buttoned up because that's just my demeanor. But no, I wouldn't call myself straight laced in general.
Yeah, you and your brother talked about that.
Yeah, I won't call myself. I present buttoned up.
No, I see that.
You know what I mean?
But then again, I mean, as true as that is, you are pretty straight laced.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, well,
I mean, as true as you're wild, but you're also straight laced.
Yes. I'm.
You're wild at heart, but I don't think
I'm a wild
do
heart.
Some crazy. I'm
There's
just some shit you would not do.
No, I'm just
that
me.
You hadn't done.
Yeah, I'm just me. I do. We don't need to parse it out. I'm just me. You know what I mean? I do me, and I think I don't make apologies for that because I feel like people do want to put you in a box about certain ways, how you should sound, how you should present, how you should speak. I explore the things that interest me, you know what I mean? And I think some of it could veer on the more straight-laced side of the house, maybe.
Sure.
Anyways, so what I was gonna say is it reminds me of when everybody was using the term consciousness, you know, oh, you're conscious and all this other stuff. Woke. And it was so loaded at the time, and I remember not even wanting to necessarily associate with the term, even though I knew what was intended by it. And the intention, what was intended by it, it was essentially questioning the status quo, right? I mean, that's basically what it boils down to. Questioning the status quo and finding out what's underneath it, so that you can then move in a way that's more true to who you are, right? Like that's how I would define it, right? So a lot of times people would represent their consciousness by cutting off their permed hair, because now you're questioning what is the reason why I need to be
questioning the narrative, I would say.
Questioning the narrative. That's a good way to wrap it up. Questioning the narrative.
As presented historically and currently by the hegemonic. That was a big word that
was that a word?
Used. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Hegemonic. What does that mean?
Well, the
See, I told you
people,
studied
the
the dictionary.
rulers,
Okay.
the people who set the tone, like the people who are running shit, like European, Eurocentric. Another big term.
At the time.
Yeah,
yes.
Eurocentric culture is like, okay, here's what they're telling us is the way to go about life, and like the idea that just because a group of people said these are the standards does not make it the standard.
Does not make it the standard.
Let's call it back and determine that, just because they happen to be the victors doesn't mean, for whatever reason, doesn't mean that that's the way we should go about living our lives.
Yes. And what I thought, so what was interesting at the time was not only were you questioning, but you necessarily had to then demonstrate your affinity or your acceptance of, or you had to portray yourself as woke in a certain way. right? So you had to be natural, you had to wrap your hair a certain way, you had to be Afrocentric, and you had to be moral in a certain way, kind of like people would, like pastors and what have you would say, thou shalt not do this or whatever, so there's a certain way you presented yourself. But I also always felt somewhat uncomfortable with it, because I don't think, generally speaking, that I handle prescriptions well. Here's a prescription of how you then need to conform or comport. Is that a word? Comport yourself, so that you can fit into this new category of who you say you are. Anyways, we're not going to talk about consciousness, but that's what the path to enlightenment reminds me of. Are we basically swapping out a different ideology for a new one? Or how does that come off to people who now hear you or us talking about enlightenment, and what sort of, not even judgment, but what sort of ideas run through their minds in hearing that, right? Because I think once people assign a certain idea to the new fad that you're into, it makes it very difficult for them to even hear what you're saying. So yeah. So anyways, that's what I was getting at.
Yeah. Do we want to stick here and make this a topic? Or
No.
Do we want
so we can move forward.
Because I can...
You want to talk about that?
No,
you have
I
a perspective?
on everything.
Okay, yeah, you can talk about that before we then talk about the untethered
How
soul.
much time do we have?
Not that much time. We ain't got that much time.
I'm cool on everything. Like I have perspectives on everything, but I can. But if we have a specific agenda, then we can get to that, and I can have my perspective on that.
Mm-hmm. So, how many minutes are we into it? 52 minutes. Okay. So topic, because we are 52 minutes into it. 1 second. Amy, is there a problem?
Oh Lord, have mercy.
No, just
we're not
we can't
going
hug
to.
tonight.
We're
Okay,
not
just
going
quickly
to
hug.
do this, bro.
We'll cut it off from the film. Okay, come on, come quickly, hug.
You cut it off where?
In the film, 52 minutes.
In the what?
Okay, good night, baby. I love you. Have a good night.
Love you.
Have a good night. Okay, so let's quickly do the untethered soul. So I want to sort of couch it under the umbrella of magic. Do you believe in magic? And this idea came to me, and I don't know, given how far we are into the podcast now, I don't know that we'll be able to truly do it justice. But I started realizing that, a lot of us have ideas for how we want our lives to unfold. And we want to see exponential growth. We want to see things happen in ways that are miraculous, almost, in terms of, you went, like when people talk about, famed Jay-Z, he went from ashy to classy. That's miraculous, right? Like who comes from...
Miraculous?
No, I'm just saying, well, I mean, when you are born in a space, it wasn't Jay-Z that said ashy to classy, Biggie.
Biggie, yeah.
But the point is, when you are born in a certain situation, to come out of that and become like world renowned, and to be this image of success. Let's use Jay-Z because we don't know how much Biggie had in his pockets. But to go from...
a lot more to gain than Jay-Z actually attained.
Huh?
Jay-Z has actually attained...
way more.
Yeah.
Is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So to go from selling crack, your mom is a lesbian, something, I don't know. I don't know much about his life. But the point is...
He was poor.
He was coming out of Marcy projects and all this other stuff. And fast forward 10, 15 years later, however many years, for you to be...
Many years.
No, but it couldn't have been 20 years at the most. 20 years at the most.
From what?
From when
like
it
from
started.
When he actually started rapping?
Yeah.
Okay, I mean,
From when he started to, like, when we became aware of him. I mean, freshman year, you and I have known each other 20, 21 years. So my freshman year was when Jay-Z was just cooking, popping.
but he was there way before that.
Maybe 2 years, 3 years before. How many years before?
Hawaiian Sophie? I don't even know when that freaking started.
5 years. So 25 years.
Okay, sure. Whatever.
25 years.
I don't know.
I don't know. Okay. The point is, can I get a what? Can you put this whatever on my, that was 20 years ago, to where he is now. Like, the man is a billionaire. Like, when you count how many black billionaires do you have?
Is he official? Whatever. I'm just saying.
I think he
official?
is.
Okay,
I think he is. But if you don't want to use Jay-Z, we can use P.
No, I'm
Diddy.
just saying. No, Jay-Z is my guy. Like,
Yeah.
I mean,
No, he's official.
Know that is my.
No. I think he's official. Especially, not only is he official, like, by himself. I mean, both him and Beyonce. All I'm
asking is he officially a billionaire?
I believe he is.
Okay.
Both him and Beyonce are, like, even if his household is official, forget everything else. Even if he's not, is Jay-Z a billionaire? Let me just quickly look this up. Yeah, his $1 billion. How Jay-Z created his $1 billion. Who cares? The point is, the man got a lot of money. So when you think about 20 years, the span of coming from 25 years, Ashy to billionaire to $1 billion. When you try to compute what it takes to get there, it's not a linear sort of step by step that's going to get you there. What I was saying before, so when I said, do you believe in magic? You're going to necessarily have to tap into, you have to suspend disbelief when it comes to the things that you're trying to put forth out there for yourself and for your dreams. You're going to have to, when we started this podcast, I said, there were things that I put on my vision. I have no way of doing it, but I feel like the whole of the universe has pretty much stopped to allow me to advance my agenda. I mean, jokingly, but you know what I mean by that. So in order for you to get from point A of ashy to point B, classy, it cannot be 1 + 2. 1 + 1 equals 2. It's going to have to be, I ain't got no money, so we're in the negative, plus some sweat equals magic. No, ain't got no money, ain't got a little bit of sweat, but a lot of magic equals equals my dreams. So what I'm saying is that a lot of times, when I talk about do you believe in magic, and I'm interested in where a lot of people are in terms of how big of space, how much space are you creating or are you allotting for magic when it comes to the plan that you're putting in place. I think a lot of us put plans in place that are necessarily 1 + 1 equals 2. And then from 2 + 2, I'm going to multiply 3, and then that equals whatever. And then the bank will give me another $50,000, and then I'm going to try to flip it a bit. But we don't typically allot for some magical things have got to happen for you to really get from where you are to really where you want to be. And I didn't realize, I don't think I was allotting a lot of space for that concept until recently, when I realized that when you plant a seed in the ground, it's just one seed. In theory, we know that. In theory, we know that 2 people have sex, somehow a heartbeat comes in your stomach. That's pretty magical. You know what I mean? Like you can't, you can't figure that out. Something happened. It came from nowhere. All of a sudden, heartbeat out of nowhere. That's magic. So I'm just saying, before we dive into the book, do you believe in the role magic plays? Do you believe in magic, and how big of a role do you imagine that's going to have to play in terms of your life's journey?
What time do we have? An hour? So I'm going to explain this, hopefully, for all of the skeptics that are out there, and I'm going to try. I don't know how well I'm going to do it.
I would even say just explain it the way you understand it, not even so much for the skeptics. So I don't want you to water it down.
How I want
My bad, you're right.
Thank you.
You're right.
All right. So I'm going to explain this for what I think is the skeptics, because I'm going to explain it for myself, because I still consider myself a skeptic. And so I don't know how well I'm going to do this, because a lot of times you refine how you explain things based on how, when you present it, how the feedback that you get back or the pushback that you get back, and you're like, oh, I didn't think about it that way. Now here's how I'm going to respond to that. So for my but also because I'm a skeptic, I'm going to explain it in a way that I feel like it would have worked for me, and not necessarily that it would have worked, because sometimes it just is that you have to be at that point. But the way that I would say, so when you say to someone, the heartbeat is in your stomach, you know, after somebody has sex, as far as they're concerned, that is not magic, because as far as they're concerned, there's a way for you to explain that. You know, there's a biology, even though if you really think about it, as much as we are able to explain, there's tons of little nuances that we still have yet to understand. And they know this, but when you talk to people who are like me, they're like, yeah, the fact that we don't know it doesn't mean that it's not explainable. It just means that we don't know it yet. But if you actually understand the infinite nature of this world, and there is some way that you cannot necessarily truly understand the infinite nature of this world, but if you understand the infinite nature of the universe, the infinite nature of, and this is just true, right? We have no idea how nature goes. We have no idea all the different things, matter, antimatter, all these things that we have, whether or not Big Bang theory actually exists. There is a lot of mystery there. And if you think as a human being you'll ever get to the point where you truly understand that the very different ways, the minute ways that things are, then you are so mistaken. You are so naive, from my perspective, that even if you think that there is a way to explain it, that there's so much that you're not going to be able to explain. And for me, that is something that escapes a lot of people. But even beyond that, right? The idea that a heartbeat is magical and people cannot understand that, like the way that I've described it to my son, when the thing that brought me into understanding this is the way that it was explained in Think and Grow Rich. And there are different people, and so therefore there are different ways and different methods that are going to work for different people, different methods, different ways that people speak that's going to speak to different people. And that, for whatever reason, spoke to me because of the way that he described energy. You know, like if you think about it, when your neurons are sending chemical from one neuron to another, that's energy. Like whatever, all the things that we are doing, it's energy. Energy is neither created nor destroyed. And so why is it that we would think then that the brain wave is not energy? You know, like the things that we are given is not energy, and that's not connected to everything. And if it is connected to everything, then why is it that we can't consider that there is the possibility that there is an intelligence that knows everything, because it is everything, right? And if it is everything, if the thoughts are energy, and then it's also part of universal energy, and it's also everything, then clearly it also knows everything. And so, like, if then there is a whole universe of energy that knows everything, and your thoughts are energy, why isn't it possible then, just like radio waves or everything, that I cannot tap into this energy? And so whether you want to call it God or not, there is no reason, if I am able to have intelligence and consider that intelligence energy, that I can't also consider a vast energy of all things to be energy. In any case, it might get a little bit too
out of reach,
esoteric. But
see that there you studied the dictionary.
Esoteric meaning like puzzle or too convoluted. But all I'm saying to anyone who would be skeptical is, if you consider it that way, then what they're talking about is none. Like, I'm not talking about necessarily a human. And this is what baffles everybody. It's like, or the atheist. It's like, we have a human figure, somebody who is basically a personification of human beings, who is acting just like us, jealous. I'm a jealous God, or all this other stuff and all that stuff. No, this is an energy and a force that we can't even comprehend, that exists as all things. And then if you then understand that to be true, then there is no reason why, if you are in your mind tapping into that it cannot manifest things, because it's a collective, like, there's just so much, like, I can't even come up and once you understand that and thoroughly explain it, because you got to get to the point where you first allow for that possibility. And once you start allowing for that possibility, you're like, okay, let me hear something else, and then hear something else, because even till now, like I said, this is a journey. I'm still learning more, and you need to, because another thing that we talked about in other episodes is like your ego is fighting you on that understanding. And that's another topic altogether, but for the reason why the ego is doing this. But
you know, so the most recent occasion that made me realize that I probably know less than 0.00000%, 1% of what's going on in the whole entire universe. I mean, that's just a fact in general. I mean, there's so much going on that's beyond our comprehension or even ability to grasp.
Or I can, test it. Like I have a theory. I do some experiments. I test it. I get a result, and then I can repeat that result to show that it happens over and over again. And so therefore now I've proven my theory. Which is
generally not how magic works, I don't think.
Which is probably not how magic works, because magic, there is an element of it that's
what makes it magic.
That's unpredictable.
Yes.
And if you really think about it, and those people who are skeptical, here's another reason that I want to make this. Like, if you think about quantum theory, for those of you who are at that point.
I don't even know what that is, but that sounds pretty impressive. Quantum I mean, I've heard it. I don't know what that is.
The idea of waves. And like, if you are sending like waves through, like, there was this experiment. I don't know it that well because I'm not that scientific, but scientifically not inclined, but I'm not that I'm not an expert. Like, if you're sending waves through something, like, depending on when you see it and when you don't, like, it actually becomes a particle, which tells you that like reality exists on whether or not it's observed. Like, you gotta look this shit up.
It's yeah.
You got, like, seriously, like, if you're a skeptical person, just and you understand this fact, just look this shit up on waves and how it is that it's really dependent on, like, which basically means to me that there isn't a set reality, right? There isn't something that you can say that's precisely how it is. Like, depending on how it's observed, it's going to be either a particle or a wave, which means that it could be one thing or another thing, depending on what the heck happens.
Is that different from Yanni and Laurel, depending on how it's observed?
I mean, the way it's different. The way it's different is one is in your own perception, when the other is in the freaking physical world. Like, in the physical world, people would be like, okay, well, science tells us that it has to be A or B. This one is telling you it could be both.
In that Yanni Laurel?
In your mind, it's in Yanni and Laurel.
Yeah.
I'm telling you that, like, basically what I'm talking about right now is this thing that you're looking at right now, not in your mind, not I'm looking at it and I think it's physical or it's not physical. In reality, it's physical or it's not physical.
Gotcha.
In reality.
So not necessarily how it's perceived, but the
in reality of it.
But clearly, perception is reality. So you can't perceive. Reality can't be reality until it's perceived. Do you understand what I'm saying?
But that's okay. So let me take that back.
Yes. So I think so. From my perspective, that's how I see Yanni. I don't argue. I don't try to make shit more complicated than it is.
That's true. Because Yeah, that is true. It is Johnny and Laurel.
It is.
In one instance, we're just hearing words, but the truth is that what it is saying is really, how do I perceive it? And the fact is, and that's why some people say we're actually having a collective dream.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're creating this reality collectively.
Mm-hmm.
You know, based on our own perceptions. All of us have gotten this illusion that this world actually exists.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah.
Any of it could be true.
But you know, anyways, to get back to the point here, because this is getting really
metaphysical
and all that other stuff, is, you know, at that point, I still was a little skeptical, but when I sit there and talk to her and she gave me 2 books.
The lady. Mm-hmm.
Think and Grow Rich,
mm-hmm.
and The
Power
of Awareness.
Gotcha.
So I read those.
So Power of Awareness was what got you on the journey.
No,
Think and Grow Rich.
But
Gotcha.
Power of Awareness also made it a little bit more understanding how magical this shit is. That was the one where we were sitting there listening to these. You remember the couple who was like imagining themselves?
Yeah.
That's the Power of Awareness.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Like,
so
it's just basically like it's
jointly manifesting.
I mean, that's
reality
not what happened. That's
okay.
what happened at that particular point. But the point that he was making in the Power of Awareness is, and he was specifically talking about getting to a state, and what he called it right before you fell asleep. And he talked about like physical, like when you're not moving, but really when you think about all the other things that we know, what he was really talking about is getting to the point of consciousness, the presence, where, you know, and that happens a lot of times when you're about to fall asleep or while you're just waking up, because you're not sitting there like your mind is not going. And so your brain is hitting what they call theta level, and all shit that you guys should actually look up. But it's hitting that part where you're basically now at a point where you're present, you're tapping into the consciousness, and essentially that's what prayer, people have a misunderstood prayer to be. This is actually the communication with the divine, with essence, the infinite. That's when you can actually have that communication.
Tap into that space.
And now you're basically willing this infinite all things to try to do exactly what it is that you want it to do. And yeah, that's again something that people are like, if I'm saying this to you right now and you haven't thought about it, this is just straight up bullshit. Even Christians right now in their what I would call their structured,
confined,
prescribed understanding don't even quite really freaking understand this. You know, they've been told about faith, but they don't even really understand the essence of faith. But I think that's where the magic comes from. And
miracles, magic, the same thing.
Yeah.
Yes. Beautiful. That was really beautiful. I actually felt that on a different level. So that was interesting. But so I told you how I don't believe too much in my intellectual abilities. Not that I don't believe in it, but I don't put too much faith in it. You know what I mean? Like I don't. So I don't struggle too much with ego in that respects. You know, meaning, well, I can reason this out. There's plenty of stuff I don't understand. But speaking of magic, you know, which I think touches upon what you were saying in terms of, you know, on a day-to-day level, there's some things that we don't understand, but we experience all the time. So what's always thrown me was, how does the telephone work? How am I here? I speak something. Somehow it's converted into something, and you can hear it loud and clear
one of the
across
examples
the ocean.
that the guy gave in.
I didn't even know that, but I've always like, I don't get it.
One of the examples
Y'all got me on this one. You got me.
Think and Grow Rich.
I don't get it. You know what I mean? But I think so. That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not sitting here trying to figure it out. All I know is I pick up the phone, I call somebody. I'm not screaming across. The next door neighbors can't hear me, but you can hear me in New Jersey. You win. I don't get it. So I think it's easier for someone like me because I don't put a lot of stock in my ability to reason. I don't get it. If it seems magical to me, there's some shit I don't understand. I'm just gonna fall in line. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of people get in their own ways trying to figure out a way. And I'm sure there's a way the telephone can be explained in a way that, just as you said, you and I had sex, somehow out of nowhere, heartbeat occurs. That's pretty magical to me. I don't care what you're gonna tell me. You could sit here, well, it's because the cells were splitting and then whatever. But you mean to tell me there was no sound 2 seconds ago? Now there's a sound that is tangible, and this sound will sustain for a whole 100 years? That's magical. I don't get it. And that came out of nowhere in me. And not only that, there was nothing in me and a whole body is gonna come pushed out of me. That's magic. You know what I mean? And we can sit here and try to explain it, but to me, just like that, Jay-Z can look back in his career and be like, wow, and then this happened and all this happened and all this happened. But I'm pretty sure it wasn't what he envisioned, what he could have calculated in terms of how his life was going to play out. A lot of randomness happened. A lot of universe had to bend in ways that seemed pretty fantastic in his favor, and pretty undeserving, possibly even when he thinks about like, well, yeah, I just had sheer luck and all this other stuff. But I think in general, it's really just magic, and trying not to overthink it, you know, when things sort of just unfold. And we've got to allow ourselves to be in that space, because I think what ultimately happens is magic is available to us all. Once again, just by the sheer fact that I can pick up a phone, and you know, the magic does not the magic of the telephone or child, you know, or life springing up in me does not discriminate. So I don't believe that the favor or the other stuff that, you know, people like Jay-Z or Oprah or people who are seeing magical successes, I don't believe that discriminates, you know, when it comes to who can experience it and who can't. I just think we get in our own way. And I think in order for us to, because maybe the goal is not to have $1 billion in the bank. At least that's not necessarily what it is for me. I just want to have access to unlimited amount of resources for me.
Do you need
the right amount of resources to do the things that I want to do, so that I can have bliss.
Yes. And
you know what I mean?
It's so interesting. I wonder if we had to necessarily go through certain points to get to this point. Like, I feel like there are in this country that we live in, I like literally, you're not working, you're starting your own business. I'm working from home. You know what I mean? Our kids are able to just basically be pretty, you know, they got everything that they need. They go to schools and all this other stuff. But that's not how it's always been in history. Like, a whole bunch of people live terrible lives where they had to toil. And I wonder if we had, like, it's very difficult, I think, and maybe not. I mean, like, if you really think about the age of the Buddha, when he was living out in India, I mean, to this day is, you know, pretty bad. Like, I went to India in 2001, and it was one of the worst places I went. No offense to any Indians who may be listening.
None taken, I guess.
I am from Haiti. Okay, and Haiti is fucking terrible.
Don't say that. Offense. What do you mean terrible? Okay, we're not going to take a
No, I mean, in terms in comparison to, in terms of
order.
You know, a whole bunch of things other than order. Like the organization that human beings have gotten together to allow for basic human needs. You know, so no offense to Indians, but what I'm saying to you
is, and Haitians that you've insulted pretty much.
Listen, this is
a fifth of the world population at this point.
Yeah. Well, being that like, you can insult your own people. This is the same way I can talk about my mom, you can't. So,
what about the Indians?
like
you
I
apologize.
said, it was just bad. Like it was bad. I don't care what you say. It was bad.
Okay.
But like I want to give them also a compliment because they were coming up with some fucking real deep ass freaking thoughts.
Spiritual.
And it may have been because of the struggle. And so despite that, like people were able to come up with some understanding about life in a way that was deep and real and universally true. And so maybe, you know, it doesn't matter what state you're in at that point, at least for certain people. But I think the ability for you to be able to get that level of understanding is a lot better now. But not only better in terms of you know, allowing your mind to now be able to think, because now I had to, like, part of the issue is that your mind is occupied with daily life. And so it doesn't necessarily recognize that you can separate yourself from daily life and still have bliss. But part of, yeah, and I think I was about to say that part of the reason why you would want financial freedom, in essence, not unlimited resources, but financial freedom, is the ability to go off and live a life that is unencumbered by the things that you don't want to do.
Yes.
Right? Like unencumbered by the need to provide, to live, to eat, to provide food for your family. Right?
Unencumbered. No, I don't even mind. I mean, I guess it depends on how we interpret the need to provide food for your family. Because I wouldn't even mind planting some vegetables outside and harvesting and all of that. So, but unencumbered by constraint. You know, meaning you doing the shit you don't want to do, but someone else has imposed on you in exchange for your time. So most of my, like, just being imprisoned.
What do you mean imposed?
Imprisoned.
There's nothing imposed by you. There's nothing you have to do but die. I was gonna say be black and die, but
I think that's an enlightened. I think that's an enlightened perspective.
And I say that.
I think a lot of
people who have decided I'm just not going to do that, and they took themselves to jail.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I don't want to be imprisoned.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I want to live freely and still have access to, like, being able to create, explore, have access to bliss and whatever it is that I want to do, but I want to have my freedom. You know what I mean? I don't want to be in jail. So that's what I'm saying. Like, I think a lot of times we, in order to service our day-to-day needs, we exchange a huge part of ourselves.
But isn't that time? You're doing that because you want to eat and provide for your family.
Yeah, but I'm saying there's a way to eat and provide without you sacrificing yourself in such a way. That's bliss. That's what I'm experiencing right now.
By becoming a farmer?
No, I'm just saying that's what I'm experiencing right now. Like, when there are ways, let's not get sidetracked. There are ways.
Okay, so here's the point. What I'm saying here is that part of being, you know, financially free is that now you, like you said, you don't have, like, I can now focus on whatever, like, if I want to teach or if I want to walk around and, you know, stay on the corners like some kind of Hebrew Israelite and start spouting off words and never work because that's all I want to freaking do, I can do that because I feel like this is what I want to do. But what I think, and the reason why I wanted to pull back is, like, true spirituality, if and when, I want to say when, but who knows, we ever get there, happens at whatever the fuck you're doing.
You mean wherever you are right now?
Wherever you are, right? Like, you could be, like, you are at bliss at whatever the hell. This is why the poor people are able to still be enlightened. The poor people who don't have money, who don't have, like, because it happens, because the beauty of this existence is understood at no matter what. it's like when you get to that level, it's understood at no matter what. And so that's why it's not necessary for you to be a billionaire. Although,
no, I agree.
If you want to be a billionaire, it's whatever. It's not necessary for you to even have financial freedom.
No, I think I don't even want financial freedom. So I think that's a freedom to me is not contingent on finances. So when I say I want the resources, meaning time, I actually think time is probably the most important thing. I want to wake up when I'm good and ready with sleep. I want to decide what I want to do for the day with my time, and I want to spend it doing things that make me happy.
You can be a bum on the street and you would do that.
No, but I don't want to be a bum on the street.
Well, then why? Who cares? Like,
no, but that's what I'm saying.
No.
Let me finish my point though. For me personally, like maybe you want to be a bum on the street.
I certainly don't want to be.
No, but what I'm saying is that what I want for myself is to live blissfully, where there's balance in terms of being able to create, being in a good shelter, having the time that I want, being able to eat when I want to eat, having access to friends, family, and what have you, and walking around in a way that I feel a sense of connection to the divine being, and a sense of purpose for my life, whatever that means. Without having, I think right now there is a very stark sort of take this or you get this. You either come work for us and give us all your time, or you're gonna be out on the street. But I think there's a world of possibilities, and those possibilities start in my mind in terms of the world that I want to create for myself. And I think that's what magic is. This is a script that we're all writing. We're writing the script of our lives. You can choose which script you want to write. My script is not this or that. My script is beauty. It's freedom. It's time. It's creativity. It's me being able to tap into myself, my true essence, and how I want to manifest that in abundance. That's the script I choose to write for myself. Sure. And none of that has to do with me being out on the street. Do you understand what I'm saying? So my point is that, when I dream of magic, a magical ending for myself, it's not predicated on, well, first I need to have financial freedom.
Word,
you like that?
Ooh. You sure you didn't read the dictionary?
I did not, but let's pause on that.
You were listening to my audio tapes in secret.
Nah.
How many of?
I wouldn't even remember.
I actually lost all my tapes.
What happened to those tapes?
I think you actually stole it.
Anyways, the point is that, for me personally, the world it's kind of like an artist. Artists, how many artists have painted? How many artists have painted, worlds in existence that are so different and few, that none of them resemble the other, But what that means is that we don't have to live a cookie cutter life. Like if you walk up and down the street, everybody's house is the same. You know what I mean? And for the most part, in America, we're all living the same life. You wake up, everybody's out on 495, you trying to get to work, you come back, like it's all the same. But the world is our palette. You can paint whatever world you want. You can paint whatever, with whatever colors you want. And it doesn't have to, the infinite possibilities that you spoke about means that my life and how I reflect the world and the beauty around me does not have to look exactly the same as yours. And it's not, well, it's either this or you're gonna be out on the street. I think that's the lie that we've bought into and we've believed, and is the reason why we have pretty much submitted ourselves and imprisoned ourselves to a complex, this industrial complex that allows that, in exchange, we get some pennies on our time so that we can, build the structures for us to have a comfortable place to sleep at night. But that's not life. That's not beauty. That's not you painting the world you want for yourself. Right. So I don't see it as it's either this or the other. Right. That's not the magic that I'm talking about.
When you said you don't want to be a bum on the street, and I don't want this to become a debate on this, I think we're on 1 hour and 40 minutes in.
And we haven't even talked about the book.
I mean,
the untethered
we're kind of
soul.
talking about the book right now. I mean, this ain't gonna work if we're planning on continuing to talk about the book. Although I guess, like you said, we can break this down into.
I would love to really dive into the book some other time, so we can probably talk about it. So we can wrap this up. But go ahead. What were you saying?
You say you don't want to live a life on the streets, and here's what I say to that. When we talk about the book, let's bring the book into this. One of the things that he talked about, I don't remember which chapter it is, either 14 or 15, but it is one of those chapters that I know that I am going to have to consistently and constantly go back to remind myself of the things that is being said there and how I felt about it. Whenever it is, I fall back to my pattern. But one of the things that he said was, you have to constantly be pushing against these imaginary walls, the structure that you create, the world that you create for yourself. And you're constantly pushing. And part of, if you know the story of the Buddha, is that he was a wealthy person and he decided he was going to not live that life anymore. And that's how he became like basically a destitute and living in the streets and all that stuff. And he was, for the most part, constantly pushing against these self-imposed boundaries. And it's the same way. This idea that the only way that you can live this life is if you are not on the streets. No reason. You can find a way. Like, one of the things that we had also
Who said
talked,
that's the only way to live this life? Like, I didn't say that.
Can I finish?
Sure.
All right. So, one of the things that we said is that on another topic, at another time is that the person who lives by their own means is a person who lacks imagination. It was like a quote.
Lives within their means.
Within their means is a person who lacks imagination. A quote by Oscar Wilde. And this is to say that there are ways that if you don't go about, living this prescribed life that you talked about, if I have to give you this in exchange for this, that's the only way you can live. That, his whole entire point was that you can find a way to make a living. But, even if you don't go to what may be extremes in terms of having to find a way to exist, is that, or to sustain, what I'm saying here is that what's true about this world that may have been untrue about, or what's true about today that may have been untrue about history, is that now, as we just talked about earlier on, where you have social media, you have access to millions and billions of people, and every single person who is sitting here, we are now doing a podcast, and we don't need to get the whole market, because the market has grown so big and so many people have access that even a little bit, just our own niche, is going to be enough to provide for us. And I say this because we are living in a world where, these things are possible, but there was a time when these things weren't even possible, and people were able to now push against their boundaries of the things that were expected of them, or the things that they expected for themselves. Like, when you, from my perspective, say the vision that you have for yourself is for you to do this, that, and the third, and not be destitute. Well, no, I feel like you can accomplish all these things and be destitute. What's the reason we're not being destitute? What's the reason that that's a wall for you? What's
Who,
the
me
reason?
personally?
Yes. Why is that something that you could not see yourself being? Why couldn't you be completely poor?
Okay.
Why is
so
that a problem?
let me. I think you're hanging too firmly on whether or not I'm going to be destitute. And what I'm saying is that, when I started, I said, if I, as an artist, want to paint a picture, the picture that I'm going to paint is going to be completely different from the picture that you're going to paint, because there are infinite possibilities and interpretations. There are infinite possibilities for how I can interpret this world or this picture. Some people are going to say, I'm happy being a quote unquote bum. It may not even, I'm happy living for 365 days on the street. I'm happy with that. Some people will say, I'm happy living out in Africa. I'm happy living, just backpacking, on the world. You can live your life in whatever ways you want. That's the point that I'm trying to focus on. It's not about whether or not you're going to be destitute or not, because that's even too finite. That's too limiting. It's too specific. That's not the point. The point is we have a choice to create the world and the script in whatever way we want. It could be, the beauty lies in the fact that this is how you choose to interpret the world. That's it. Like, I don't want to, it's not about whether or not I'm going to live in a high rise or if I'm going to be destitute. Those are two opposite ends of the spectrum, but there's a world of possibilities in between. So my point is that we're too limited, and that's actually, those are the two false options that we're given. Give us all of your time in exchange for the high rise. Otherwise, you're going to be destitute and on the street. Like, those are the two things that for the most people say, oh my God, I gotta go to school. I gotta get a good job because otherwise I'm going to be poor. It's not true. You can live this life in whatever way. You can clobber together, and none of it has to be reliant or dependent on whether or not you're financially free as a prerequisite, is what I'm saying. You get up tomorrow and decide how you want to live this world, how you want to interpret this experience for yourself. So once again, I think we're hanging too much on, maybe my knee-jerk reaction or whether or not I want to be destitute, because that's not the point. The point is that I want to create a beautiful picture with my life.
What time is it? What is it?
You guys are waiting for like really long.
All right.
Like, this is gonna be like hard to edit for the other producers that we have.
If you don't take your ass to bed right now.
I thought you actually had a question.
No, I was just telling you the time. Like, it's really long.
Thank you, baby.
We appreciate that. Thank you for your advice. Now, you're cutting into this thing and it's still going on, right?
Well, that could be edited out, but I'm just saying, like...
Go to sleep, my friend. Good night. Do you want to give mommy a hug?
Not really.
Why?
I just don't.
Okay, let's keep it moving. All right, come on.
Anyway, so I hope you understand what I'm saying by that.
All right.
And you may want to respond to that, which is completely your choice, but I don't think that's the essence of the point. I think the point that I'm trying to make is magic is about you tapping into the collective universe's energy and power to create a world for yourself out of the world of possibilities that exist. That's it.
So, I'm going to respond to it, but I'd like you to bear with me for a second.
Mm-hmm.
Because first I'm going to respond by speaking to the magic piece, and so it's going to kind of meander. Not meander necessarily, but like it's going to take several different paths. So with respect to the magic piece, I do completely agree with you that we have within our power. This is what we were talking about initially with respect to going in and thinking about things at a specific time. And the reason that people have done this and don't realize even that they do it is that sometimes you become obsessed with something.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you become obsessed with something, you wake in the night, you're thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're sitting there, it's ruminating in your mind. And so you don't realize that what's actually happening is like sometimes you get into that space
Mm-hmm.
where you are communicating with
Mm-hmm.
the universe. You wake up in the morning, that's the first thing on your mind.
Mm-hmm.
Like this thing keeps on harassing you, and you like, you get
And
back
what
to
you
that
focus
thing.
on multiplies.
So, you have a situation where because you're constantly thinking about that, you don't even realize that this is going on. But this is precisely what happens when we consider New Emini. You don't really understand this concept? So, this is the problem when you have your kids at home. I mean, it is kind of late. It's 10:46. They should be in bed, right? What was I saying? So, what people don't even realize that this is precisely what they're doing, and this is one of the things that you know is true, and this is also one of the things that it talks about in Think and Grow Rich, where it's like when it talks about like the energy field, that when you think about something, it attracts other thoughts, and this is if you haven't had a point where you have either thought about some things in a positive light or in a negative light, and you recognize that, oh, I'm feeling good today, and all these other things that, you know, because you're feeling good is now attracting other positive things. If you haven't had that situation in your life, I don't know if you've lived. You know, and the same thing happens with negativity. Like if you're thinking negatively, it's attracting all these other negative thoughts. And so, like, if you are in that space, it is like attracting certain kind of energy towards you. And so that's precisely what it is. You can necessarily create I mean, there's other people doing things, but you can create your own life. This is what the whole concept of the secret. The secret is about. It's like, you know, if you really truly believe and concentrate on something enough, like, you know, like people will say the world conspires. It's because the universe conspires to have these things done. It's because
Emily, go upstairs. Stop being annoying. No, we're done.
No, you
get the tap and be gone.
What do you need water for? You need water. You need ice. You do not need ice in the water.
Gone.
It's 10:48.
I told you earlier today when you were upstairs playing your stupid video games that if you come downstairs, it's going to be an issue.
This is ridiculous. This is like now we can't even edit.
Come back here and get the water, my friend.
Now you don't need it?
Making all this noise. He's gonna be upset.
Oh God, I can't. It's kind of screwing up my freaking conversation. This is a terrible like. Anyways, now we got to figure out how to cut that out. But anyways, and then I don't even know what the hell I was talking about before that. Anyways, so my point is that yes, you can create such a life. You can create the life that you want. You can say, here is the life that I want. And I don't know if that necessarily is a bad thing. And this is part of what I've been struggling with in terms of, you know, when I think about what they're talking about with enlightenment and whether or not it is a matter of thinking positively or not, or whether or not sex in and of itself, which is not necessarily a bad thing, is good or not. When you think about, from my perspective, the true nature of enlightenment, it has nothing to do, personally, I don't know if this is true or not, but the way that I have heard it, has nothing or very little to do with the physical. I'm still working this out. It may definitely be different because I can actually argue a different point. But this is one of the things that I'm arguing. It has very little to do with once you are truthfully attaining that, once you are attaining the bliss from understanding and from recognizing and from experiencing life and all the things that are within it and the beauty of it, the marvel of it, in such a way that you when you take it in, you are in pure ecstasy and bliss, that it has nothing to do with the physical, with trying to experience the things that we now think is blissful, or the things that we are now striving for in terms of, hey, I've got to go and not live this life, because you're always in that state. has nothing to do with your trying to live in a particular way. Like, and for me, when he talks about constantly pushing the walls of what is possible, it's not because ultimately you get to necessarily, you could end up that way. You can, because you are doing what you love, and for whatever reason, people are willing to pay for it. In the same way that, you know what, I am a vibrant, dynamic person, and people are like, hey, yeah, why don't you come with me on this trip? Because I want to be around you. Now people start giving you shit, or they start like buying your books, or they want to pay to hear you, you know, speak and all this other stuff. In that same way that now you are now financially stable, and if that happens, that's great. But also, it's possible that none of that happens, and you are destitute, but you are doing precisely what you want. You know, the people you're able to speak to are only in your surroundings, which is probably what happened to a lot of people who were enlightened but didn't have the power of the internet, or couldn't get somebody to publish their books, or for whatever reason why Gandhi became big. Maybe there was a rich person who saw him and became enlightened and started writing his books for him, and decided to do all these other things and told his story for him, and that's why he is known to this day. But otherwise, otherwise he probably would just be speaking to some local people around him as well. He may have gotten to the point where he was so enlightened, it doesn't freaking matter whether or not it made money. It didn't matter. It doesn't matter, because he was in pure bliss regardless.
Yeah, I think you're focusing too much on the money once again. Much like the homeless. I think in a world of infinite possibilities, it's this and that. And that. And that. Whatever that is. It's like a kid in a candy store. In a world of infinite possibilities, it's whatever you want that you manifest. It's not this or that, which is what we're used to thinking, which is why a lot of people feel like I'm either going to give this so that I can have this, or I don't give it and I'm stuck here. I think it's not, I think we're putting too much value on, is it destitute or you rich, or whatever. It's this and that. In a world of where anything can be possible, you know, it's kind of, I see this as in math. In math, there's a concept of, I think it's conjoined. I forget what it is, where when you think about, it's this and or that. So it's one. So if you have 1 plus 1 plus or minus 1, what does that equal? So all of the possibilities in between that, including the one, whatever it is, right? So it's not one or the other. You know, when you think about, can Peter go with Jane and or Lucy, right? Peter can either go by himself. When you think about the or, he can go with, you know, Peter can go with Jane. Peter can go with Jane and Lucy. It's whatever it is you choose. All of the above is a possibility. Now it's a matter of what you want to choose. But just think about that in an infinite sense. It's not one or the other. And all of it is equally good if that's what you want. So I think we focus so much on, well, is it not? When you write a movie script for your life, it's whatever you want. Just like you said, when you want to paint a picture of your life, when you're an artist, we're all artists. The picture that I paint is completely different from this. It's not this or this. It's all of the above.
My point is that in your painting your picture, if you are now having desires that are outside of your wanting enlightenment, if you are having desires that are outside of your wanting enlightenment, it is outside of wanting enlightenment.
Yeah, I don't agree with that. So here's what I would say. I think
not wanting enlightenment. They are outside of you becoming enlightened, because I don't think you should have any desire to
I don't agree. I think, like I've used this example, I think we overthink a lot of things, and I think our mind over intellectualizes a lot of things. If there could be a Jay-Z or an Oprah or a Beyonce, that tells us that, but then there can also be someone who is destitute. That's the realm of possibilities. The realm of possibilities in terms of what we can become as human beings. It's just a matter of which story you want to create for yourself. There's no good or bad. We don't have to assign value.
It's not possible. I'm just.
It's not even about the possibilities. It's not even. I don't think this is supposed to. I don't think this is supposed to. I don't think there's one is better than the other. I don't think there's value. I think we limit ourselves to, when I talk about you and I talked about vibrating higher. Meaning it's very easy for us to occupy certain spaces, either based on how we were brought up, what we saw around us, the various limitations the boxes that we put on ourselves. None of it is good or bad. A homeless person is having his own experience. Someone in Africa is having their own experience. Someone in Europe, we talk about this all the time. I don't see good or bad in it. Everybody has their own challenges. We all have our own challenges. It doesn't matter what Jay-Z's life is like. He has his own challenge. That's human nature. You wake up every day, we got problems to solve. Ain't nobody living on a daily basis without solving problems. We choose to assign values to it as human beings because a lot of the pillaging and the raping of other people's times necessitates us assigning value. We need to be able to say, well, it's much better to be over here, than where you are. And if you're going to be over here, you need to give me a certain amount of time to access this space. So we create VIP. All of it is for the good. I'm not sitting here saying this one is better or the other. It's a matter of where you want to vibrate. Where do you want to occupy? What space do you want to occupy? What are you trying to create? What's your art piece? It's not good or bad. This is how I want to manifest my time and my experiences. So for me, how I want to manifest is through abundance, because I know that's one of the possibilities. That's one of the infinite possibilities that's available to us. I don't want to create a script where I'm destitute, not because there's a value judgment. That story doesn't inspire me necessarily. I'm inspired by abundance. I want to walk into I want to multiply. I think I'm supposed to multiply. I want to have multiple versions of myself. I want to experience the world. I want to be today on a jet ski, tomorrow on a private jet. Why not? Because the beauty of this world is such that all of it exists for us to, as our playland. This is Disney World. We put too much limitation on ourselves by saying, no, we can only go to the community park. Maybe that's what you want to do. I'm trying to see it all. I'm trying to see every single part of it, because all of it represents the beauty of the essence that we can manifest as the infinite possibility has done for us. The world is our oyster. And I think, once again, the idea that, well, I shouldn't even want that is limiting in and of itself. Personally, I think what I want is all of it. I want all of it. Why not? If somebody else can have all of it, and that's not to say that it has anything to do with, am I going to have a perfect life? Am I going to wake up today and not solve problems? No, it is human for you to have to use your brain. It's a computer to compute and solve things and create things. But the story that I'm trying to create for myself is one of abundance. And I can have all of that because it's of the infinite possibilities of it. I'm not trying to do this and or that. I'm trying, when it comes to all of those options, I want all of it. That's what I'm trying to tap into. And if you choose that, and that's why all of it exists. Like when you talk about this and or that, it is true. I mean, I don't know if you understand the math concept that I'm trying to tap into, because I was in math. So, all of it is true. A, and you don't choose any of it, is true. A or B is true. A and B is true. In those equations, all of it is right. B by itself is true. What I'm saying is I'm opting for A and B. Some people are going to opt for A by themselves. Some people are going to opt for B by themselves. Some people are going to say, well, I could take this or that. Nah, I want it all. That's the permutation. And I talk about permutations all the time because I remember because I was always fascinated by, certain formulas that allows for all the possibilities to take place. And I think that's life, is that there could be so many different permutations and all of it is true. And one version of this could be just as true as another version that is all inclusive or another version that is zero. I don't want any of it. It's all true because the formula allows for that. I'm saying the story that I'm going to create for myself allows for all of the above, for the abundance. I'm not here to choose this or the other. I think a lot of people do that. And I think we've been sold to think you can't have any of it, when in reality, you can. You can. A seed can only have, if you plant a seed, you could choose to only say, we're just going to have one tree in here, or you can replicate. That same seed, you can, take one of the fruit of that tree, go plant it somewhere, and you can spread and replicate and take over the world. Or you could say, we're just going to have this tree and we good. That's a possibility. All of it is true. But you can have more, and none of it can be judged as whatever. It depends on how you want to manifest. I want to spread. I want to occupy. That's me. You know what I mean? And I think it's okay to do that without judgment. And all of it is enlightenment, because all of it represents the possibility of the world, of the essence. It's all a manifestation of the infinite possibility.
I need to take a break and pee, and then I'll come back and respond to that. You don't need to pause it. You can cut. I say this to say.
Well, that just gives more work for.
I mean, where are you gonna cut? You got to now cut everywhere else. Did you cut it on the video? Did you cut it everywhere? That's why you got the. I think it's an easy cut. I just said I gotta go pee.
I gotta pee too.
Note the time frame.
Okay, let me go pee and then. Whew. Ah.
One way or another, it's got to be cut in the video at the very least.
No, I'm pausing it in the video too.
Who's gonna? You're gonna play and then come sit down.
Yeah.
So that will have to be cut.
Oh, you mean the video? No, you're right. I didn't pause that. I paused the one on my computer.
I mean, we're not using that unless you want to just show yourself. Oh, you're okay. I guess yeah. It's gonna be weird cuttings at this point. Like the time frame is gonna be different.
Oh Lord, I need to eat something. Eat something. Eat something. Eat something. Poor Amy, I feel bad that we screamed at her. She was just doing the most. Like, are we gonna be done at some point here?
She didn't need no fucking ice. She could have just got water.
Wait, why
She was
does this
very
only say
inconsiderate.
52 minutes?
Maybe he's ran out of memory.
That is interesting. I wonder what happened.
New Iman.
Yeah. Why does this only say 52 minutes?
So at 10 o'clock, the phone like stopped. Like it had like a
Oh, because of the thing?
yeah, so I had to like, so on some apps I can like ignore the limit. So I on the camera app I can ignore the limit. I press ignore limit and that's it.
Okay, we'll figure it out.
Yeah,
Okay.
maybe pretty bad.
Huh?
Okay. Are we ready?
Oh.
So, I would say that it's very interesting the way you put it. The first thing I want to say is listen. From my perspective, I'm still learning. I don't have the definition of enlightenment yet. And perhaps, I don't know if I necessarily want to get to the point of enlightenment. But my understanding of what is being said is precisely what has led me to continue to be a skeptic and to question. Because on the one hand, I feel exactly as you feel. Like I want a specific thing. I think part of what the message that we are getting with these people is not to allow limits to yourself, to understand that these thoughts that are created partially by our biology, but also partially by our experiences, is not necessarily who we are. Our biology, our physical self is not necessarily who we are. It's these thoughts that are created, and the essence is behind that, you know. And so therefore we don't have to be limited by these thoughts because everything is possible. So it's precisely what it is that you were talking about. And so you can get to the point where because of that understanding, you allow yourself to push through limits, and therefore are now able to accomplish multiple things. You can get to the point where because of your desires and understanding of how, in essence, the world really truly works and how you're able to manipulate it, you can get to a certain point. And so maybe even if, you know, my understanding of enlightenment and where you go is different, maybe I don't ever necessarily go to my understanding of enlightenment, or maybe my understanding of enlightenment is not necessarily true, because as I said when I was saying this before, like I also question whether or not that's necessarily true, because maybe, you know, what we're supposed to do, this is probably getting a little bit more deep and people are going to get lost in it. So, you know, if you're not necessarily, you know, haven't read up in art where we are, and you know, if you're there, then hopefully, you know, since we're breaking this chapter down or this podcast down, you know, you can let go of this one and get to another one. But what I feel is that, you know, perhaps what we're supposed to do is live our best human life, our best, you know, not just human life, but like our best, because I feel like you can, like, being enlightened is still a human life, but our best non-enlightened life, as you know, like as close to enlightenment as possible, but not necessarily enlightenment in the way that I would define it. And I say this to say that it's clear that you have a different definition of enlightenment if you believe that you can still be out there pursuing a specific human objective. Because the way that I see enlightenment as it is described, the way that I see it, is that there is no longer any specific desire necessarily. There is no, there is no desire to have A and B. I want to have the jets and the whatever, because there is no desire. If I happen to have it, if somebody says to me, hey, I have a jet ski, you won't say, no, I won't do it, because that's not enlightened. No, you're going to experience life, because every experience is beautiful, like you said. All those possibilities are there. The essence, consciousness, has allowed itself to multiply in so many different ways that these things do exist. But the truth, from my perspective, the way I understand enlightenment, is not that you are necessarily pursuing it. And in fact, like you said, there is no good and bad necessarily. There is enlightenment and not enlightened. It's not good or bad. It's really, from my perspective, the way that I understand it, rather, whether you are constantly living in bliss or whether you're not, whether it's something that is experienced sometimes and you fall back, like, you know, and this is the exact part of thing that I was questioning with respect to, you know, certain things that are good or certain things like sex or whatever the case may be, you know, like you experience some level of spirituality if you're there, but then you fall back down. But I feel like for me, enlightenment is when you have attained that status and you're always there. So every single thing that is being experienced is on the level of bliss. And so if you are now also like, oh, I've got to have that, that is for me a representation of the ego. That is for me a representation of your desire. Like you, for me, a enlightened person is only truthfully just living. If I now speak to you to tell you what I believe, it is because that's just me living. You just asked me a question, you know, and now I'm answering it. Like this is part of the reason why there's sometimes like this living that is just through silence. Like I don't even speak to you. That's how I understand it. Like I am not necessarily pursuing, and I'm not necessarily pursuing anything. I'm living. I am experiencing life. I am happy. I am, I've gotten to the point where everything works out. And if, you know, I now feel the need to write a book to explain to you how I feel, I do it.
Right.
And that may lead to wealth and riches because you now bought my book, but it may also lead to nothing at all.
Right.
Like nobody, and so if it leads to nothing at all, I do not get the jet skis. I do, and I don't necessarily be like, oh, I've got to go write another book because I need the jet skis. I need to have A and B. No, I only need A. If I get B as a result of pursuing A, I'm not going to reject it. I'm going to be like, well, yes, this is another thing that's beautiful. But my only pursuit is A.
So I think we're saying the same things, except I think you're predicating, once again, that word, abundance on financial security. That's magic. I get to experience whatever it is that I want. How it happens is none of my business. The universe figures out. I want to, if I want to somehow.
It's the want that's the problem.
No, it's not even so much the want.
It's the want.
No. Let me for you.
Yes.
But what I'm saying is, it's human desire. So think about an artist. If you want to paint, that is the basis of human. The basis of human desire is to.
There's a difference between wanting to paint and wanting to have jet skis.
No, you're missing my point.
Okay.
The basis of human desire, human experience, is to experience the world. Mm-hmm. That's just the basis is to experience the world.
The basis of human desires is to experience.
The basis of human life, the fundamental, we're here to experience the world.
Okay.
That's it. We're here to experience the world. Mm-hmm. So that means all of it is at our disposal. Mm-hmm. All of the world is at our disposal, mm-hmm. right? Mm-hmm. What that also means is that how we're going to experience the world is up to us, because we're also the artist, we're the creator. So whatever it is that we tap into is a choice. I can tap into living in the ghetto because that's the story I'm going to create. I can tap into living in a mansion. That's the story I'm going to create. All of it is on the same footing. The difference is a lot of people, because we've been told that, well, you can't really have the mansion. This you can have. When in truth, all of it is at your disposal. How you're at a candy store, you can have M&Ms, you can have Reese's Pieces, you can have Snickers, you had a candy, so you can have hard candy, you can have cotton candy. It's all the same.
So, okay.
Let me finish my point. It's all the same, and all of it is based on what you want. When you walk into a candy store, you have whatever you want, right? I think how life has been presented to us is, well, you can have the hard candy. You can have the hard candy. That is what your lineage, that is what the people that you've been born with, that is what it affords you. It's in that little black corner over there. Let me finish my point.
Can I just say that if you were born in Haiti in 1600s, could you have everything? Because from my perspective, you could become the president of Haiti at 1600s.
Let me tell
If
you,
were a
magic.
slave,
So
okay.
we started off talking about magic.
So you are telling me that as a slave, you could have become the king of England.
Once again, Mackins, let's just suspend disbelief. Like let's
Fine.
suspend.
Okay.
No, let me finish
That's
my point.
fine.
I think this is why this concept is very difficult, and I don't want us to spend too much time on it. But the concept of I'm speaking into a phone,
Okay.
and somehow
Let
you
me-
hear it. Let me finish. Somehow you hear it in Africa.
I get the point you're making. I want to get us to the essence of the disagreement. So what I want to say here is, so your opinion on the book, and then I'll let this one go. Your opinion on the book that we haven't necessarily got to, where he talks about you are trying to change the whole world around you as opposed to what's within you. Like you're trying to, like you're giving your mind a task. Somebody has to behave this way. Somebody has to do this. And like you're trying to change the world around you as opposed to within you. Your opinion on that piece is that the magic of it is that you can actually change the world?
Let me use the candy store once again.
Okay.
My opinion is, I walk into a candy store and I have my friend with me. I have my friend, somebody, I have you with me. Or I have Nuamin with me. I'm going into the candy store. I like cotton candy. Nuamin likes chocolate. Well, this is a problem. I want us both to have cotton candy. Because you don't have cotton candy, are you saying that chocolate is better than... So now I am interpreting his behavior as a reflection on my desires, my cotton candy. That's like when I'm talking about, you walk into a candy store, it's your oyster. How you choose, whatever you choose. Do you want cotton candy? You can have both. You can have cotton candy and chocolate. You can have cotton candy.
That doesn't
Maybe not for you, but I'm just saying. No, my point is, if I can just take a step back, the world is a script for you to.
It does not still answer the question that I had to you.
I thought it did. So tell me the question again.
So, is your opinion on the book when he says you're busy, you have given your task, your mind the task of figuring out how to change the entire world? Like
that's not what I got. That's not what he said.
Sure. Specifically, what he said is, like
I want everybody to like me. I want to be happy.
Yeah. Okay, sure.
I want
there are parts of the book. There are parts of the book. He doesn't necessarily say you're giving your mind that, but there are parts of the book where he said that you're trying to change the world. He didn't say you're giving your mind that task, but he's saying you're trying to change the world. Like, do you remember parts of the book where he talks about you trying to change the world?
Not really, but okay.
Okay, then we'll have to get back to that. But the way that what I remember, I will find that. But what I remember him talking about is part of the reason why you do not, you focus on your inner self is the idea that you cannot necessarily change the entire world.
It's true. That's not what I'm saying.
My feeling is the idea that the whole magic will now allow a slave in Haiti to become the king of France. I said England, the king of France. Like I just asked you if you were living, because for me, the reason I asked that question is, something that's universally true should be universally true at all points.
Magic is there's no science or rhythm to magic.
Gotcha. So what you're saying to me is that your belief is that a slave at the time of where they were in Haiti could have become the king of France.
You know, there were slaves. That's not even a far-fetched thing.
Mm-hmm.
There were slaves in England who married, who they were born into slavery or what have you.
Mm-hmm.
They married somebody. They married into royalty and became queen of, like, that's not a far-fetched thing. Like that's
they became queen where?
They became the queen of you can look up the history. Like there are black women okay. who were so. My point is, none of this is real. It's not. None of this is real, and none of this is bound by.
It's a collective dream. So there are other people who believe in the opposite too.
Megas, listen.
And they wake up and go to sleep believing in the opposite too.
I think what we're trying to do right now is Laurel and Yanni. From my perspective, the world is my oyster. I wake up today, I'm in the candy store. I want the hard candy, I want the chocolate, I want the cotton candy, I want the liquid candy, I want the solid candy, all of the above. That is the world that I'm going to paint. That is what makes me feel free. That is what I want. You could say, that don't sound good to me. All I want, whether or not, because
it's not that it does. Like I said when I started this, listen, I don't even know whether or not I want to get to the point of complete enlightenment. What I'm arguing is not that it's not what you should want or whatever, or that is even not possible. What I'm arguing is that true enlightenment doesn't desire those things. True enlightenment.
I'm telling you that
True enlightenment experiences them one way or another, whether it happens or not. If I do whatever it is that I'm doing for the purpose of me living, and I so happen to still be in the ghetto, that's fine.
Does true enlightenment desire breath?
True enlightenment doesn't desire anything. Like if it were to die, it would be okay.
Because
now I'm going to.
I think you're putting too much. Once again, this is what we do as human beings, and I get it, and I don't want to spend too much time because once again, sometimes it's better to just say Yanni, Laurel. So sometimes, this is what I had to do last year. Listen, we're all living whatever experience. Even our interpretation of the book does not require for us to be arguing back and forth. This is what you see is what I see. If you can listen to the same music and you heard Laurel and I heard Yanni, I'm not here to argue anything, period. But I also understand that there are things that my intellectual mind can never understand. Based on that, for you.
Those are two separate things. The fact that you can understand it doesn't mean that all things are.
What I'm saying is the magic that I subscribe to in terms of the infinite possibilities, the magic that, for me personally, I don't understand the world. I'm going to put it out there, but I understand that it's a world of possibilities beyond my understanding. And what I also understand is that the world can be whatever you want it to be. Out of those two things, I'm not assigning value to, well, this one is okay, but not this one. It's all of the above from my perspective. I'm not adding value to it. I'm not saying, well, this is true enlightenment, this one really isn't, or whatever. It's human to desire. That is the experience we're living. The consciousness behind the desire is different. That's just the observer. You're observing. It's what we talked about. What script are you going to give me? Tons of movies come out of Hollywood constantly. There's a sad movie, there's a romantic movie, there's an action movie. All of it comes out. But all of it is within the realm of the possibility that Hollywood can create. We're not sitting here saying, well, really, the romantic movie is much better than the action movie, which is really much better than the biographical. No. Out of the same movie house comes romantic, whatever. Some people can say, you know what? They really believe this is our niche. Our niche is romance. That's all we're going to create. That's your prerogative. I am saying Bola Odina I want to make romantic movies. I want to make sad movies. I want to make action movies. I want to make biographical movies. I want to make cartoon movies. I want all of the above. I am here to eat at the table and figure out where we going next. That's what I want. But there's some people who have strong desires. Some people don't want to experience all of that. Some people will say, my passion has always been to wake up and be an artist. You need to follow that. That's what speaks to you.
Let me ask you a different question then.
Mm-hmm.
If you were able to get a person, Eckhart Tolle, who wrote the book New Earth, says that there is an awakening that is happening. So a lot of people are going to become conscious. Let's say if you were able to now get a whole group of people, a whole group of slaves, to say, we are all going to be, or let's say a whole group of us said, I want it all. I all of us in this generation, we're going to become president. Would that also be possible?
That's magic. That's the magic
So the magic then is that all of us could imagine ourselves becoming president. Okay, so for myself, who was born in Haiti, let's say we have a whole bunch of people, for whatever reason, they now have gotten awakened. And they have now gotten themselves to the point of enlightenment. For whatever reason, just theoretically speaking, magically speaking, all of them now think they want to become Haitians, born in Haiti, not born in the U.S. All of them want to become the president. That's their desire for whatever reason. You're saying all of that is possible too? I
am so baffled.
Is it a yes or no question?
Yes.
Okay.
You know why I'm baffled? We are arguing the matters of the things human minds put in place. Like, we're not even talking about metaphysical situations. We're not talking about the bending of time. We're not talking about something being solid versus air.
Of the United States is what I said.
President
of the United States.
That is none of laws change all the time. None of this is metaphysical.
So what you're saying is what would happen is they would change the world, change the Constitution such that all of these people would be allowed to be president.
It was unfathomable for a country like U.S. to exist before these people decided we are going to revolt and start our own country. We're going to take an asset of the Queen. We're going to revolt. We don't have any resources, and we're going to overthrow the control of, like, we're sitting here talking pennies compared to, like, that to me, this is chicken change. I mean, I hate to say, but this speaks to...
I have to tell you that this is precisely the kind of thing that would get people to become...
Let me tell you, I'm not worried about people though. So, but what I'm saying is...
I know you're not.
What I'm saying is, we're sitting here talking about human potential. We're sitting here talking about the ability to bend time. We're sitting here talking about exponential jump.
So in magic, then you could be Benjamin Button. You could age backwards.
In magic, the world is conceptually, when you go to space, in terms of how gravity works. And once again, I'm not going to sit here and talk about whatever, but in terms of how gravity works and time and all of that, they do talk about how the rate at which time moves here compared to the rate at which time moves elsewhere, it could be perceived. Once again, perception is reality. It could be perceived that someone is aging backwards. Or whatever.
Or I've never heard backwards.
Listen, I don't know. My point is, we want to sit here and apply our intellectual understanding of the world to the infinite possibilities. We want to apply our intellectual, which is when I started, I said, my understanding and what we are experiencing is but a small fraction of the percentage of 1%, but a small fraction. But we want to use that to represent the totality of the universe. The rest of the 99.9999999, that's the magic. That's the magic. We're sitting here trying to say, well, because you can't compute it, you can never hear the whistle that a dog can hear. You can't. You can sit here all the day. Oh, you mean to tell me that a dog is hearing? Yes, ma'am, he is. That's just the nature of it. It's been proven. You can never hear it. You can't comprehend it because it's not something you can tap into. So if that can happen,
Jesus also said that with enough faith you can move a mountain. Do you think that's also possible?
Let me tell you something.
It's a yes or no question.
Yes.
Okay. So that's good. All right. So
yes.
I think I'm gonna have to get to the point where I'm saying we're gonna have to agree to disagree on that.
No, that's fine. But the point is, this is not like this is why I think it's so important, and that's why I wanted to ask this question, because the main crux of this exercise is to say that, you know, a lot of times we get in our own way because of the reliance on our intellectual side, which, you know, we've proven even when we started at the show. And it's such a difficult thing to grasp, but we've proven that there are things that are beyond our grasp, our intellect, like we can't bend our mind to understand it. But we understand that it's happening. There are things.
I believe.
Let me finish my point. There are things that are happening beyond our grasp. Once you step into that space that I can't comprehend it, you're going to have to surrender to that. Anything that happens outside of your comprehension is within the realm of possibility because you can't comprehend it. So that's it. But if you can comprehend it, it wouldn't be within the realm of possibility, the magical stuff. But once you can say that, listen, here are the things that I can comprehend. These things beyond my realm of grasp and understanding, anything that happens beyond this realm, the only thing we can assign to it is magic, but they're manifestations of things that are happening beyond our comprehension. But for you to try to use your limited intellectual capabilities to explain what's happening beyond your grasp,
I'm not
you
explaining
can't.
anything. I'm not. I mean, you're saying that I'm using it to explain.
I mean, you used it whether or not somebody who was born in Haiti can be the president.
That was an explanation, or it was a question? Okay, so I'm not explaining anything.
You either believe in magic or not, and that's what it boils down to.
Magic.
You either believe
when
it's
I
taking
tried
place or
to
not.
explain, when I tried to explain it to a person who was a skeptic like myself, I didn't necessarily say to you that you can do anything. I explained it as magic in a sense that there were infinite things that we didn't know, and I explained it in a way, from my perspective, the way that it was explained to me, or that it was understood to me, as explained in Think and Grow Rich at First and every other thing, is that there are energies that you can tap into. I don't necessarily believe that that energy means that everything is possible, primarily because I believe that everybody is also, like I said, a collective dream. In order for me to do certain things that are other than what I am able to become to a certain extent, then I have got to enlist, and this is part of what it talks about in Think and Grow Rich. You got to enlist the same belief from a whole bunch of other people. Like, there are certain things that are so grounded in our physical belief. Like, I'm sitting here on a freaking rock, floating in earth. Like maybe theoretically, if I've gotten the entire world, and who knows? I mean, there might be aliens who also have to believe this as well. If I got the entire world, if there were no aliens, to believe that I can make this rock that I'm on disappear and we're all floating on nothing, maybe. I'm prior to this, an agnostic, which means that I have to see it to believe it. And so I don't know necessarily whether or not that could happen, but I strongly believe that I cannot, by my own entire self, make the earth disappear. And like, we're all floating. What about everybody else who is sitting here thinking, well, the earth is sitting here. It's like I'm walking around on the earth. So, although all these things are potentially all possible, I feel like my understanding is it's a collective dream. it's, like there's only so much that I can do personally by myself. Like what I can do is impact myself. And even, for example, if you think about like manifesting your own life, part of the reason why it just doesn't mean that I believe it, and therefore the minute I believe it, it happens, is because there are other people in this world believing other things. So like I will have ups and downs. These things are like, I'm sitting here, I'll have an up, I'll have a down, and then eventually, because I continuously believe in that, regardless, the down came, I still believe, and eventually I get to what I want to get. It's not enough for me to just believe. And in fact, part of the reason why you can't just have a a person who is not quote unquote mentally functioning in the way that most of us function, have a specific belief and that be true. A person be like, I am the king of Africa, I'm the king of whatever. It doesn't happen, even though in his life he truly believes that, is because there's a whole bunch of other people who don't. And so part of the reason that I feel like that doesn't happen is because you can't do it all on your own. And that doesn't mean that I don't believe in magic. I believe that I am not the sole entity. I am not the sole place where the source has put itself in its power to manifest. And so I cannot by myself force manifestations on a whole bunch of other pieces of this essence. And so for me, there are some things that I cannot do. And that's why for me, when I read the book and he talks about, even if you find yourself in jail, what is the reason why, what is the reason why you would not just be happy? You could sit here and be like, oh my God, I was wrongfully accused. Or you could be like, well, I was wrongfully accused. My mind is going to get myself out of it. And now that people are going to find me. And maybe that could happen. But he didn't recommend, if you find yourself in jail, just think about how strongly you do not believe in jail and then you'll get yourself out. No, he said, be happy regardless. And so from my perspective, the way that I see that message is not go around desiring everything. It's fix your inner self that you can now see the beauty in every situation. That's how I read that. See the beauty in every situation. You are alive, and that's beautiful. And that is, from my perspective, because of that piece, because he didn't recommend find magic if you find yourself in jail, seems to me like what he's saying is there's beauty in everything. You should not be sitting here wallowing in whatever the fuck happens to you. So that's how I see it. That's just me.
I think it's human nature to want to impose our limited understanding. I mean, there's a very specific reason why I wanted us to talk about magic, because it's a very difficult thing to grasp, or to even surrender to, because we're constantly trying to apply our very structured intellectual understanding to a world that's beyond our comprehension. And I started off saying, I don't have as much of an issue in that realm because I don't put too much on my understanding. I understand what I see, but if you can tell me that what is very real to me in terms of your Yanni is very real to you in terms of Laurel, there's no way for us to argue any of that anymore. The realm of possibility is endless from my perspective. And it's a very simple concept. I think we overthink it in terms of, before then, we could be arguing. I mean, you and I have gotten into lots and lots of debates about how, well, I'm a perfectly rational human being and I see it this way and then you see it this way. But you mean to tell me we can listen to the same exact thing? 50% of the world hears this, 50% of the world hears something else. And in my realm of thinking, I can never conceive of Yanni. Oh, I think it'd be, who cares what I heard? I can never conceive of the other. Never. And I don't care what I will have done in my computation of how my mind and my perception of the world, this is it. Period. But you mean to tell me 50% of the same world that I inhabit hears something that is not even remotely close to what I'm hearing? Is not remotely close. That's magic. For me, it is. Like, for me, if I can't comprehend it, I'm putting it in the space of magic. And if the space of magic can exist, anything is possible. That's how I see it. And I know it's such a difficult concept to explain, but I'm telling you, if I cannot bend my mind to hear Laurel, I can't bend my mind. I'm willing to bet that is the world of possibility that I can't bend my mind to hear. There was another example, dog whistle. I can never hear. I don't care how much of a computation I'm going to do in my mind. There's a realm in which the frequency of whatever is happening is beyond my comprehension. It's beyond my analytical mind. It's beyond my ability to compute and hear. That being the case, I'm going to make a guess that there's a whole world of shit I'm not seeing or hearing. Dog whistles, cat whistles, colors, a whole bunch of shit I'm not seeing and we haven't stumbled on. That being the case, I'm going to put that to magic. I don't understand what's going on. I can't. I don't get it. And what I'm saying is, I think when you just think about math and the world of possibilities, in general, we talk about how there are multiple parallel universes. I don't even, to be honest, and I hate to be, this is going to come, I don't even think they're crazy people per se. They may be tapping into other universes, other parallel dimensions, other frequencies that we don't understand. Who knows? So as far as I'm concerned, the world is a world of possibilities. It is. And because I don't get it, I'm willing to bet that
the difference between don't get it and now assuming that all things are possible.
What I'm saying is that when it comes to math, and
not to say that all things aren't possible, what I'm saying in this world that we live in, if we go by this idea that we have, because it's actually, I feel like, based on certain logic, right? Like when you think about the idea, okay, well.
So you think the world is logical?
The idea that we're going in is based on logic.
Which idea? Which world?
The idea of consciousness. So, for example, part of the reason it's able to be explained, right?
Much of it is not able to be explained.
Lord have mercy. Can I finish the thought? So, part of the reason this thing is able to be explained is the way that they are explaining it. And part of the reason why people are able to see it is they're saying to you, all right, and even it says this in the book, and the way that he is able to do it in such a way is the reason why we found this book to be so enlightening, to be using a pun. But what he said was, if you think about it, like the fact that you are seeing yourself think about something, like there is something, like if I sit here and I'm describing this wall, it's white. It's,
is it white?
Whatever. Oh, Lord have mercy. All right. So if I'm sitting here and I'm describing this wall, then clearly I am not the wall, because I am a person who is describing what I see. So if I can now also be able to describe my own feelings, then I cannot be those feelings. I cannot be that person. And so therefore, there must be something there beyond that who was able to now see, I'm sitting here being happy. That is based on logic.
Right.
Now, this is not to say that the logic is perfectly there. There are certain things that it cannot explain. I haven't come to it, just like in science. But the point here is that there is a logic that is allowing it. So when it says to you, well, you have just come from your seat of power, and now, like in your consciousness, and there is a disturbance. Part of the reason it's saying that is because it also recognizes that most of us are unhappy when there's that disturbance. So the logic is, you're unhappy, so why would you want to be there? Like, you don't want to be there. There's a logic to it. And so what I'm saying to you here is, it's not to say that the world in and of itself only operates by the logic we know. We are able to see parts, the iceberg that you know, the tip of the iceberg that sits on there because of the logic that we have been given. And so from my perspective, if you are looking at that logic that it allows us to see it, for me, it also indicates certain things. It indicates that if I am now drawing that we are a conscious person based on consciousness, based on the logic that I'm using, it's in you, it's in this person, it's in this person, it's and also in all human beings, in all things that exist. It says to me that I do not have, by my own self, the ability to change everybody else's perception, everybody else's ability, everybody else's magic capabilities. And so how am I going to, by myself, if you are also God, he is also God, now change your own understanding, your own ideas of how you think the world should be? How do I do that only by myself?
First of all, I don't know what that specific scenario you just painted, I don't know where that applies in what we just talked about.
Meaning that if you still believe in this reality and I'm trying to change it, how do I do that by myself?
Okay, so once again, remember when we started, the how, if I have 1 + 1, okay, it can only
I'm gonna be
equal
done
2.
with this, because I think, if we're actually not going to edit this whole thing out, it's going to get boring.
No,
But
we're
you
gonna
can finish
edit.
this point.
What I'm going to say is that, and I can't help but talk about permutations. Do you understand what I mean? Because I feel like maybe it's do you understand what I mean about permutations?
I understand what permutations are. I mean,
what are
just saying permutations doesn't mean anything to me. Are you serious right now? Like,
No, I just want to see if we're on
whether
the
or
same.
not I went to school.
Yanni and Laurel. I'm trying to see if we have the same understanding of permutations. Like,
Okay.
yeah.
Permutations, as I understand it in math, is all the possibilities that exist in the different combination of things. I have, like, the combination of different what is it? Like, if there are multiple things that can happen at the same time, a combination of things that could happen at the same time. Now the permutations are the different ways that those combinations can come to exist.
Gotcha.
Like the multiple ways, or the different number of ways that those combinations can come to exist. Okay.
No, that's exactly it. Some people argue that the world we're experiencing right now is just one permutation of infinite possibilities. Just one permutation.
Yeah.
So what that means is if there are infinite possibilities, because the more factors or element come into place, just right now we have 5 people in our family, right? My interactions with Nuamin is one combination. My interaction with Nubia is another combination. My interaction with Nubia and Nuamin is another combination. So just off of 5 factors alone, only God knows how many various how many different combinations you can create. So when we talk about infinite factors, infinite possibilities, there's so many different ways this world can present itself, right? And what I'm saying is, we don't all have to buy into that, because that gets too much into the metaphysical, so we don't have to get into that. But more than anything, what I'm saying is that I'm going to go back to the telephone, okay? That's not 1 + 1 = 2 to me, okay? Before the telephone was invented, whoever invented it or whatever, and I'm sure somebody can explain it, I'm still not going to get it. But you mean to tell me that I can say something here and it can be heard across the ocean? I don't understand it. Like, that's not something that you can,
No.
that's not something you can mentally bend your mind that is 1 + 1 = 2. Maybe it is. I don't know. Maybe I need to look more into
There's plenty of people who are in telephone, if they're who understand wavelengths and how things function right now, who would be sitting here talking, listening to this and being like, well, I could explain that to you.
Let me tell you something. First of all, you said Think and Grow Rich gave the same example. A lot of people can explain things in theory. A lot of people can say, well, the cells split multiple times. But what you're telling me is, when we talk about a heartbeat, we're talking about cells are splitting. Cells are splitting. All of a sudden, you're generating sound. All of a sudden, you're creating blood. Out of nothing comes something. That's magic. Like, based on my computation, you know, we can sit here, well, how would I be able to get the liquid into, I don't know. I don't know. There's something going on that is translating.
Yeah, okay, so we don't have to go back and discuss. I believe, I agree that.
So my
magic.
point is,
I don't. But the argument, so it seems to me like we've been through this, and when you started describing this, I said to you, okay, I believe that's magic. And the reason why I said that some people would be sitting here talking to you about this is because, I mean, for those of us who are listening to this and are all in line with you, yeah, that's magic, including myself, all good. The reason I said it is there are some people who would be like, okay,
I don't care about, that's not my point, though.
Yes, it doesn't matter whether or not that's your point. What I'm arguing here is we don't necessarily have to sit here and argue whether or not that's magic. What I'm arguing here is the fact that it's magic doesn't negate the understanding, the logic in our understanding of the tip of the iceberg that has gotten us to this point, which is, yes, it's magic, yes, it's possible, but we also have to understand that there are millions of us, conscious gods. In essence, we are all gods, able to make the world in our image, in also in our liking, who have got to be in concert with us. And so you deciding you're going to change the entire world without their consent in not just consent but also effort is, to me, like, okay, how?
I don't see that as a prerequisite. That's why I'm saying I don't know where you're coming with it. Let me tell you what, and
Because
that's why I keep going.
You are changing the world, and they're still here.
That's why I'm going along with permutation. That's why I'm going along with. That's why I keep going around with the permutation. There are 5 factors. Me by myself is just as real as me and Nuamin, which is just as real as me, Nuamin, and Nubia, which is just as real as Nubia, Nuamin, like all of those possibilities. So you saying everybody needs to fall in line may just be one permutation of the possibility. But it could also mean that it could just be me by myself. It could just be like we're sitting here trying to explain something by saying everybody needs to fall in line, when I'm saying that's I don't know how magic works. You're trying to apply logic to magic. You're trying to apply logic to magic when even in permutation in and of itself, which is quite logical, A is just as real as A and B, which is just as real as B and A, which is just as real as BB, which is just as real as AA. All of those possibilities are true in certain formulas. So who knows what formula reality has written, and you're trying to apply 1 + 1 = 2 to it when that's not the formula at all. The formula is A permutation with B plus some sprinkle of magic for you to never understand. That's what it is. You don't understand it. That's the essence. The key thing to take away here is a huge part of the formula is magic that you can never understand. That's it. You either believe in it or not. You either believe that all of what you have within your power relies solely on your intellectual aptitude, or that there's a part of me that's a very small part of me. The rest of it, I'm just going to leave to whatever magic is taking place that I don't understand, but I'm ready to ride along with it. That's it. I'm not here to put the numbers together. I'm not here I'm trying to convince the whole world of what? Nah, I'm here to sit aside and just get a sprinkle of the sunlight. I'm trying to get a sprinkle of the rain. That's it. I'm trying to get a droplet of the ocean, of the water. A little bit of it has the same component. The same compound in a little droplet of water is the same as that of the ocean. It's the same formula, but the vastness of it is different. But it's the same thing. Water is water. Water is water. It's just different scales. I mean, the magic in and of itself, the ability to explain it is so difficult. But it's the same reason why you can put a seed in the ground and a whole forest can be erected out of one seed. We don't create a whole situation and we want to sit here and explain it. No, it's magic. But I mean, it's a very difficult.
I don't know exactly how we're going to edit this, but what I would like to do is invite us as we I believe.
Oh wow, it's 3 hours.
Too forcefully, is that the right word? Too adamantly argue this point, because I think we should have found a way to let it go a long time ago, to understand and to step back and watch ourselves and watch these thoughts that allowed us to make these points as long as it did. Because yes, we disagree. Watch ourselves in what was causing us. I felt like I had to do that a couple of times. One point I was like, wow, this camera is on as if this looks up as I'm going to look like I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. I had to step back and say to myself, okay, well, I've got to walk past that wall.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know whether or not I'm right and whether or not you're right.
There's no right or wrong.
And maybe there is no right or wrong.
There's a world of unknown.
But what I want to do is invite us to let that pass through us. Because it doesn't, like you said, the world of unknowns and none of it freaking matters. And as a result, we're spinning on a world.
Yeah, I mean, I think
So, I think we need to figure out how to end this.
Yeah.
podcast.
So I think what's great about this, and I'm glad we were able to do this with our first official YouTube episode. I think part of what we have been reading, the books we've been reading, what it calls, what it asks us to do is to step into the realm of the unknown, the discomfort, the area where nothing seems to make sense, and allow for some moment, for some time, allow yourself to suspend disbelief, allow yourself to question how you've lived up thus far. And who knows? Because I don't know that there's a right or wrong, but I think there are ways to qualify. I forget who was saying this, the CIA person who talks about they're the knowns, they're the unknowns.
Donald Rumsfeld.
Yes, which to me, I think captures the universe perfectly.
The unknown unknowns.
So they're the things that we know and can feel. We know and even those can probably be questioned based on Yanni and Laurel. Because in the past, I would say, well, this is the known. A lot of the things we hear, we probably see colors differently. Green, as I'm perceiving it, may be completely different from how the world is an amazing space. But it still remains the fact that there's some knowns, some shared, accepted knowns up until now. There's some unknowns, meaning there's some things we don't understand. There's some things we can't quite understand. You know, we understand, I mean, there's lots of things, you know, when it comes to science that people are trying to figure out. You know, this is how sound travels, and then there's a hole and all the whatever it is. There's some unknowns there. There's some known unknowns, meaning there's some things that we know that we don't know, but the majority of the world are the things we can't even fathom. There's some unknown unknowns. We don't know what we don't know. We couldn't even begin to wrap our minds around the shit we don't know. We have all these 4 categories, which I think does a good job of summarizing, and maybe not, right? Maybe there's a different realm that is we don't even have the vocabulary to truly be able to address and speak to. But we're such a small part of the known part. We're such a small world, a small part of it. And we want to use that to extrapolate ourselves into the rest of the universe. Well, this is what's going. No, like what I'm saying is, yes, we don't know a lot of things, but there are ways like you said, based on logic. If you and I can listen to the same shit, you heard one thing, I heard something else, that to me already told me, like, I'm not even arguing anything else. That to me makes me understand that we are experiencing the world in different ways, in ways that we have no idea. Because there aren't tests for us to tap into that. There happens to be the color dress, and everybody's like, no, I saw this, I saw this. How many more things are we thinking we're seeing and experiencing in the same way that we're not? How many more? And how many more things are we not experiencing at all? That we have no idea. How many? But we want to sit here and continue to allow our limited understanding, which is not even a shared understanding. Not only is it limited, it's not shared, it's filled with errors. We want to use it to explain the rest of this magnificent experience. Come on. Like for me, it's a no-brainer. It doesn't even, like, I have no qualms about that. I surrender to all of it, personally. So
I surrender to your deal.
So I think, anyways, the point is, that's what I was hoping. And I think this was a good debate because that's where the tension is. I think the tension is not only even in...
I don't think there's any tension.
No, I'm not talking about tension.
I think, I'm not talking about between us either. I don't know that there is a tension necessarily. I think there is as with all things, everything that we're doing is guessing.
Yeah.
I think there is a lot of reason, personally, the reason why I have bought into it, I think they make a lot of sense based on what we know. Right. But maybe you're right. Maybe there's a whole bunch of shit that we still haven't tapped into yet. Maybe, in fact, what he is saying is completely wrong. Maybe it's like there is something that we can actually tap into. That all these people, not just he and all these people who are tapping into this idea of one thing and how it is, maybe they're just all getting it wrong too. And maybe there is potentially something else where you flip this whole fucking thing upside down. I don't know.
We don't know. I mean, that's essentially what it boils down to. But what I do know is my intellectual self has had control for way too long. And at this point, I'm willing to explore some magic.
I would have to also say that, just as you are saying, part of life is experiencing certain things. I think part of being a human is experiencing life. I think your intellect is also part of being a human. I think even though it's limited, I think there is a reason why we are given it.
Of course.
To assess and make conclusions about the way that the essence has chosen to create itself, that's to multiply itself as forms. I think it has not done it entirely without clearly, it hasn't done it entirely without any rules, without any structure. This is the reason why we are able to come up with our ideas of science and what happens in this real world, which is our idea, the way that we are able to come to some level of understanding of it. And so I think it's given us our intellect precisely to be able to do that. So I wouldn't completely dismiss it.
I agree, and I think point well taken, because perhaps I've been a little harsh on and hard on our intellect for some time, but I think for me, I'm just trying to force some space. I'm trying to force some openness for magic to have a seat at the table, and I think, you know, that's a constant tug of war, because my intellect is it's an overwhelming presence of, nope, this is what we're gonna do, this is what we're going, this makes sense, don't it? You know what I mean? Like, it's quick, it's ready, we got you. You trying to go here, I got it all mapped out. And that's what leads us down this path. And you know, that's why, like when I said tension earlier, I said it's a constant struggle. Even in myself, I'm sure whoever, you wake up every day and you're like, you know what, I'm trying to leave some room for magic. And that's not something that that's easily that's easily tapped into, at least not by any like hacks that I can come up with at this point. There's some things that I'm trying to tap into, but my intellect takes over very quickly. But I'm trying to allow for some magic. So when we started this podcast, you know, the topic is, do you believe in magic? And you know, I'm glad we were able to have this debate, because we started off seemingly on the same page, I would say. Like, yeah, you know, we both, you know, agree with magic and all this other stuff. And what we realize is, well, maybe you see it differently from how I see it. But ultimately, I think the conclusion is there's so much to this world that we don't understand. But what you and I can both agree For listening to Someday Today, where we encourage you to live your life like it's a fucking vacation.